So I'm going to explain how to make $100,000 a year on your own with a one-man business. And I'm not going to talk to you about any complicated advanced strategies. We're not going to talk about how to make millions and millions of dollars. We're just going to talk about how to get started so you can achieve basic financial freedom, not have a boss, and have enough money to do what you want and go where you want and basically live freely. Now, I did this when I was 19 years old. So before I was 20, I figured out how to make 100 grand a year completely by myself without employees, without any crazy offices or any crazy business strategies. It was very simple, it was very straightforward, and so I'm going to give you the exact method that I use to do it so that you can do it as well. So without further ado, let's hop in. So the first thing that you need to do when you're starting is you need to define what do you want. So it helps to understand this. If you try and build this business and you try and get to 100K a year, 200K a year, 300K a year, it's going to be pretty tough and it's going to be pretty difficult and it's going to take quite a long time and it's not going to be easy. It's going to be simple, but it's not going to be easy. It's going to require a lot of work. And you need to know what you want and why you want it, because before you even begin, you need to have a reason not to quit. And the reason that most people fail and don't succeed in achieving this financial status is because they don't clearly understand why they want what they want. And so you need to get real clear and real focus on why you want to make 100K a year and why you want financial freedom. And the easiest way to do this is to go to the dark side. So instead of looking at the good things that happen if you make the money, like buying a car or being able to travel or retiring your parents, those things are great and those things can be very motivating, but you need to look at the dark side. What happens if you don't do this, okay? Is it being stuck in a job that you hate or not being able to provide for your family or not being able to pay for your grandmother's medical bills? Things that feel really painful. These are the reasons as to really why you want what you want. Because you might think that you want to get to 100K a year because of some, noble, inspirational gesture of love, like I want to do this and I want to build a school in Thailand or something or wherever. But that's great and you can want those things. But the real thing that's going to push you forward is pain. And so step one, why do you want to make 100K a year? Don't look at the light side, look at the dark side. Really sit with this for a while, and once you know why you want what you want and you can keep that in your consciousness and you keep that top of mind, then it will become like this thing where you have to do it. But if you bury the pain and you try and only motivate yourself with desire, well, those desires aren't actually as powerful in pulling you towards this goal as you think. And so I'm going to give you every single step to get to 100K a year. And it's going to rock your world and it's going to be amazing and you're going to do it and it's pretty easy to do, pretty straightforward. But it does require some sacrifice and it does require some pain on your end. So if you lose track of this thing, it's game over before it even begins. So let's have a look at step number 2. So once you know why you want to make 100K a year from a negative perspective, and you actually have some pain to run away from, because the work's going to be painful and the thing you're running away from needs to be more painful than the work, otherwise you won't do the work, basically, is we need to define a group of people. So this is also called a niche. Now, the business that I'm going to show you how to start here revolves around selling information, okay? So this can either be a service-based business where you are doing work for someone and you're performing an action that gets someone a result, or a consulting or teaching-based business where you're sharing information and knowledge with someone so that they can get a result they want. Now, don't worry, if you don't have anything to offer, it's fine, because I'm going to show you what to offer, and I'm going to walk you through how to build an expertise and how to find a service later on in this video. But for now, you just need to understand this. People or niches have problems. A niche is a collection of people, okay? And a niche is basically a collection of people that have something called affinity, okay? Now, affinity is a word used to denote similarity. And so, for example, we could take people that are pottery experts. That could be a niche. And this niche has affinity by all of those people being experts in pottery. And what another niche could be NBA players. Another niche could be modern day philosophers. Another niche could be high-end luxury gardeners, right? What you want to do is you want to find a group of people that you're interested in. And once you've found this group of people, it's called a niche. Now, there are a few rules to picking a niche and a few rules to picking a group of people that will determine whether or not the niche is successful and can support you making 100K a year. Because the market is the most important thing, and that's why we start with it, right? So what makes a good niche? Well, it needs to be growing. It needs to be financially supportive. right? And it needs to be in pain. And so what this basically means is the market that you pick needs to be expanding. You need to pick a market that is growing, because every billionaire ever made, pretty much, with a few exceptions, was made in large part, A, because of their entrepreneurial talent and their skill, but B, because they were just in growing markets, where basically, they were in these booms of industry. So if you look at, for example, Elon Musk, he's in the electric car market, which is one of the hottest markets in the world at the moment. Or if you look at Jeff Bezos, he started Amazon right before the e-commerce boom and right before this trend. Or if you look at Andrew Carnegie, one of the richest man in America in the 1800s or early 1900s, he was in the steel industry as America was laying railroads across the entire continent. Pretty good time to be in that space, right? Same with Rockefeller, with oil, same with Sam Walton, made in America, the billionaire who founded Walmart, and the retail boom in America was huge, and he was sort of at the front of that. And so, this happened as well with Ray Kroc, the founder of McDonald's, as fast food started becoming a trend and started becoming popular. This happened with Mark Zuckerberg, with social media and the rise of social media. Like, when we look at these billionaires that we look up to, that we respect and study throughout history, yes, they are incredibly talented entrepreneurs, and yes, they are remarkably brilliant at what they do. But without a growing market, that doesn't really mean anything, because their businesses can't be positioned to have that much leverage if the market's not growing. So when you're picking a niche, you want to make sure that it's growing. And the second thing is you need to make sure that the niche is what we would say financially viable, because in order for you to make $100,000 a year, you need to be able to extract that money from the market. Okay, making money is as straightforward as finding a group of people and extracting money from them in exchange for services. And the thing is that if the niche doesn't have money to extract, then you can't extract it. Picking a niche that doesn't have financial viability would be like starting an oil company and trying to drill oil in northern Britain. There's just no oil to find. And so there's no point in going there, because you've picked a low oil area. So you don't want to pick a low money niche. What this means is you wouldn't want to pick a niche like students or homeless people or people in college or whatever, I guess that's students. You want to make sure that the niche, as a large part, has the financial resources. So for example, if you decided, okay, I think that I want to work with, yoga coaches, for example. Like, is a yoga coach going to be able to, like a one-on-one yoga coach that maybe makes $3,000, $4,000 a month? They're not really going to be able to afford to pay you much money, and they're not really going to be able to give you anything, for your services. So you need to be really careful when picking a niche and make sure that you pick the right one in terms of finances. And then the last one is pain. And what this basically means is, does this niche associate pain with their identity? So we have pain and we have identity. So for example, we could take a group, a niche of people, professional League of Legends players, right? Gamers, professional gamers at the highest level. Now, what you need to know is, does that person have pain associated with who they are? And so, for example, if you were working with professional League of Legends players or professional esports players, one pain that they might have is that they spend so long at their computers and their desks that they have like neck problems and back issues. And one of your, a business that you could start to serve that niche could be, I help professional gamers fix their posture. And, maybe you have like a online course, or you do services or something like that. Now, I'm not saying that's a good idea to start. I'm just saying it's an option and you could explore it. And so what I mean by this is, like, if you take a group of people who have a hobby, let's just say you take people who, they like to do pottery. They don't do pottery for a living, but they just do it. It's like, are they really going to pay lots of money to get better at pottery when pottery isn't the main component of their identity? Probably not. But if you take a gym owner or someone who owns a gym, the gym is kind of their identity, and it's so closely tied to them and how they identify and how they see the world, that if there's a problem with their gym, it really hurts them. But me, for example, like, I read biographies. Okay, so one niche could be people that read biographies, and I wouldn't necessarily say that there's any pain associated with that. And so, one business you might think to start is like, I'm going to help people that read biographies learn to speed read so they can read more biographies. And it's like, yeah, that sounds cool, but Reading is just something that people do leisurely. It's not like a thing. However, if you said, I help professional historians double their reading speed so they can write and print articles twice as fast, now we're talking, because there's pain associated with the identity, okay? And so when you're picking your niche, you need to find a group of people that you're interested in, and it could be any group of people. It can be consumers, it can be businesses, it could be, like I said, it could be authors, it could be Greek historians, it could be archaeologists, it could be painters, it could be electrical engineers, it could be it really can be anything. But the main thing is you need to make sure that A, that niche is growing, which means that more people are joining it. B, that niche is in financial, has some level of financial resource expendable to solve painful problems. And 3, they are actually in pain. And as an identity, they're not quite where they want to be. For example, if you were to take painting businesses, and one pain that they might have is that they can't find good enough apprentices or talent, or you might find that contractors are too expensive. So maybe the pain they have is you help them find the right contractors at a lower price. All sorts of different places you can go here, but as long as they got those 3 things, the niche is viable and you can basically make 100K a year on it. If you're wondering what I picked gym owners when I was starting out, and it served me quite well. Now, the third thing, step number 3, is research. So what we want to do here is you basically want to try to understand the group of people that you've picked better than they understand themselves. And research, it really consists of, there's a few different ways that you can do this, okay? Because what we're looking to do is understand these people on a level that is frightening to them. Because if we understand them really well, then we can engineer our business around them. A lot of people have this misconception when they try and start a business that they need to have an idea and that they need to sit in the shower and just wait for this idea to come to them. It doesn't work like that. We don't have ideas. We don't just come up with random ideas to start businesses. What we do have is problems. And a problem is leverage to add value and to create value. And so, you're not just going to come up with an idea. It just doesn't work. But if you find a group of people and you research them for long enough and hard enough, what you'll start to find are problems that these people have. And once you find the problem and isolate a painful problem that people would be willing to pay to solve, then you have some leverage to start making money. Think about this for a second. Anything you've ever bought ever, with a couple of exceptions probably, has been purchased to solve a problem for you, a painful problem. Now, there are going to be some exceptions to this, but for the most part, the only time you've ever paid for anything is because in exchange for that thing, it alleviated some pain and solved an issue in your life. And so, for example, in my office, I have some houseplants. And the problem I had when I moved into this office is it was very bare, and I felt like I wasn't at home because I like nature and I like plants, and so I bought some houseplants. Another problem could be this whiteboard. I bought this whiteboard because I didn't have a whiteboard to make videos on, and that was a problem, so I bought the whiteboard. And the whiteboard company, they made money. They created value by solving the problem, and I obviously in exchange gave them capital, right? And so research is a pretty straightforward thing to do. And what I like to do is something called immersion and interviews. So immersion is basically where you want to go ahead and create some new social media accounts. So you want to create a new Facebook account, a new Instagram account, any social media platform that your niche would be on, you want to create an account for. And then what you want to do is a fresh brand new account. Then what you want to do is you want to go to the places on those social media platforms and start behaving as if you are in that niche. So if you are a professional painter, then you might go to Facebook and start joining painting groups, house painting groups. Or maybe you go on Instagram and you start following painting companies, or you start watching, contractor memes or something, right? And what you're looking to do here is engineer these social accounts and manipulate these algorithms into showing you content that people in your niche will consistently see. And once you've done this, you have a sort of main line to the hive mind of your niche. So if you've got a Facebook account, a Twitter account, a TikTok account, an Instagram account, and you have these accounts engineered algorithmically to think that you are in that niche, then what they'll start to do is they'll start to show you content that your niche will see. And this is how you can get a real good grasp and understanding of someone and how they think. You know, if you show me your YouTube recommended feed, you know, when you go on the YouTube's home screen, if you showed me your YouTube recommended home screen and you let me scroll on your Instagram and your Twitter for about 5 minutes, I know you pretty well. Because these algorithms, they show us more of what we want to see. And so if you want to know what people want, so you know what they will buy because people buy what they want, then it helps to immerse yourself in the platforms as if you are them. And then these algorithms will just tell you. Like, you'll start to pick up on trends, you'll start to notice like specific memes and patterns of things, and you'll start to be able to speak the language of the niche. And before you know it, you kind of become one of them. So when you do sales calls with them, when you work with them, when you communicate with them, when you reach out to them to try and get them on a sales call with you, when you try and close them, like, it's kind of like you're talking to a friend who you know incredibly well. And so that's step one to research, is what I call total niche immersion. And no one has ever talked about this strategy online before because I came up with it and no one's thought about it before. So there's a little insight into something I did how I got from 0 to 100K a year. If you take anything away from this video, this one thing could probably do it for you. So the second thing is interviews. So what you now want to do as well is you want to start hopping on calls with people in your niche. And so there's lots of ways you can do this, where you can basically call up your niche or reach out to them on social media or email them, and you want to ask them to basically give you a little bit of their time so you can ask them some questions. Now, in psychology, we have something called the reason-respecting tendency, which means that people are more likely to do something if they have a specific reason to do it. And so what I used to do when I was trying to get interviews with people is I would say, like, hello, I am a student trying to do a school project on painters. Could you spare me 10 minutes so I can, you know, ask you some questions about what it's like to run a painting business? Or you could say, hi, I work for an author. I can't disclose it because I'm under a non-disclosure agreement, and I'm doing research on behalf of this author for painting businesses and what it's like to run a white van man sort of, you know, one-man band contractor painting business. Could you help me out and answer some questions? And people will respond very well to this. Another thing you can do is, like, you know, you can say you can say I'm doing research for a school project. You can say I'm doing research for an author. There's hundreds of different reasons that you can make up to get these people on the phone. Or you can be honest and say, I'm looking to start a business that helps these people. Would you mind giving me some time so I can ask you about that? And then really, once you're on the interview, all you're trying to do here is you're trying to find the most painful problems you can. And so what you want to do is you want to really ask people, like, what do you struggle with? Like, you know, what keeps you up at night? What annoys you? What are your pet peeves about the thing that you do? Like, you know, can you tell me about some issues that you have with working in this way or doing this thing or being this person? And once you've done, you know, really 15 to 30 of these interviews, you're going to start to have prevailing biases where certain problems are going to just consistently come up over and over again. And you'll be able to realize, like, okay, like, I've spoken to like 25 of these people now, and 23 of them have said they have this problem. And it's the same thing with the immersion strategy as well. All we're looking to do here with our immersion research is try and find problems. And so after about, I would say, I don't think the research stage should last any more than like 3 to 4 weeks. And really, you should continue doing the rest of the steps that I'm going to give you after 3 to 4 weeks anyway, because, you know, we don't want to procrastinate. This is something you should do in your spare time. But, you know, we're looking to find problems, because once you find a painful problem and once you uncover an issue, you're going to crush it. An example I can give you is a friend of mine makes $30,000 a month, and he's 21 years old. And he's a client of mine, and we help him with client acquisition. And he works with lawyers, and one of the problems, I told him to do this, and one of the problems that he uncovered for lawyers, specifically I think it was divorce lawyers, is they got bogged down with tasks, like these small little tasks. And all these lawyers, you know, these 50-plus-year-old dudes who didn't really know anything about the internet, they didn't know that virtual assistants existed. And they didn't know that you could hire, you know, relatively talented task executors in the Philippines for $3, $4 an hour. And so what my friend does is he places task executing virtual assistants for professional divorce lawyers, and he saves them, you know, 10, 20 hours a week. And because the lawyers bill by the hour, he can position it by saying, you pay me $2,000, I will save you, you know, 20 hours a month, which to you could be worth, I don't know, $4,000, $5,000, which means you're going to net this much because you can work on more high leveraged activities. He only found that out after he talked to enough lawyers who kept saying like, I hate having to do this and I hate having to do that, and this thing's annoying and that thing's annoying, and I just don't have the time to bill when I need to bill, all of my invoices and this, that, and the other. And so he was like, oh, I can solve this problem just pretty simply with virtual assistants. And so that's just one example. Now, the thing about once you've picked your niche, if it's growing and expanding, if it has the financial availability, which means it can pay you thousands of dollars, or each person can pay you thousands of dollars, and it's in pain, problems exist. Like, I promise you, every niche has problems. Like, the problems exist when you are where you are now, and there is somewhere you want to be, and there's a gap between these two states. And so what we're looking for with problems is basically, another way to look at this is we're looking for obstacles that prevent people from getting the outcome they want in life. And so a problem is basically an obstacle. They have, like, the painter, the person in the niche is where they are now, and the person in the niche has a position where they want to be, and there's a gap, and a problem stands in the way of them bridging this. And if they solve the problem, they get where they want to be. So if we take the professional esport gamer who has neck problems, they have neck pain and back pain, and if you solve the problem, then they won't have neck pain and back pain, which means they have better posture, they feel more confident, etc., etc. But you're only going to find that out by doing this. After a few months of this, or even a couple of weeks, really a couple of weeks is all it takes, you're going to have a pretty clear idea. So once you've done your research and you know what the niche wants, i.e. you know what the problem is, it's now time to determine your model. And this is pretty straightforward. And let's just draw this out here. So really there's three ways that we can deliver a service or solve a problem, okay? There's three. The first one is DFY, second one is DWY, and the third is DIY. Now I'm going to just draw this here, and we're going to probably cross this off for now, but I'll explain. So these acronyms stand for done for you, done with you, or do it yourself. So really, if a problem needs to be solved, or if we want to solve a problem for this niche and this group of people and alleviate pain so we can add value, and we obviously can exchange that value for money, that we've only really got three options. The first one is that we do the work for them, right? So for example, if you run a marketing business, or if you run a recruiting business, or if you run an accounting business, this is where you do the work for someone on their behalf to add the value and deliver the result. Now, for the majority of you, I would probably say 80 to 90% of you, this is going to be where you should start. But for some of you, it might make sense to do done with you. So done with you is where it's more coaching based, where the only way to solve the problem is with the person as opposed to for them. And so, for example, if you were a therapist, or if you were a sports physicist? I don't think that's the thing. That's a person that studies the natural world. If you were a sports therapist, that's an example of a done with you service, because they can't just do it for you. You have to do it with them, right? You're going to have to do exercises and stretches and stuff, and so you can either do coaching or you can do services, but sometimes you can do both. And so, for example, in my old marketing agency, I would deliver leads for gyms and I would do marketing for gyms, but I would also coach the gym sales team on how to sell, because if I was getting them leads and they weren't closing, there was no point in them getting the leads in the first place. Now, it's going to be up to you to pick how you solve this problem, but it's either going to be done for you or done with you to begin with. However, this is where it gets interesting. The other option we have is do it yourself. And do it yourself is I'm not referring to you, I'm referring to the client. This is basically where you teach the person how to do it. And so this is where I have my business right now, and this is the most scalable, best business model to have. This is where you get so good at what you do because you've done it for so many people, you've coached so many people, that you now have the ability to make a course or a way of delivering information, and the content is so good because you're so good that you can make that course, give it to someone, they can execute on your information and get the result themselves. Now, in order to get to do it yourself, and in order to get to the point where you can create a course and sell information, you kind of need to have done this for at least 15 to 20 people successfully, or you need to have done it for yourself. So there's two ways that you can graduate to DIY. And trust me, you're going to get to 100K a year with DFY or DWY. So you can do it for people or with them, 100K a year just fine. But if you want to get to $1 million a year, or 2 million a year, or 3, 4, 5 million a year, I mean, I'm at 10 million a year with this now. If you want to get beyond that, it helps to do it yourself. So if you're starting as a brand new beginner, we're looking here. But once you get to 100K a year, we can start looking a little bit more lively down here, okay? So for example, let's go back to this lawyer example. This guy that I know is really good at finding virtual assistants for law firms to do law tasks, right? To do like sort of admin law tasks, not to actually do the law, but you get what I mean. And he's got so good at it now to the point where he can sell a course to the lawyers, and the lawyers will pay thousands of dollars for the course and they will execute on the information themselves. See, this is the luxury you have. When you become really talented and really good, people will forego the service or the coaching in exchange for the information. Because when you get really good, you have a lot of leverage because you actually know what you're talking about and doing. And so, for example, in my business, I have a product called Easy Grow, which helps marketing agencies, coaches and consultants with client acquisition. And we are the best in the world at helping these types of businesses get clients. And so we sell a course, we sell information and videos for tens of thousands of dollars sometimes. And this is pretty cool because I no longer have to do it for them or with them because we're so good that they can just learn and do it themselves, if that makes sense. And so you need to decide, really, which of these two you want to start with. And this is going to depend on the nature of the problem. So, if maybe for example, you start a sales agency where you take sales calls for people, but the alternative to that is if you want to fix the sales problem for a business, then maybe you work with them on the sales call. So you listen to the sales call recordings with them and you help them out. All sorts of different ways that we can go about that, but that's up to you to decide based on the problem. Now, number 6 is we need to learn how to create an offer. So an offer is basically, it kind of is what we say it is. It's what you offer to your clients in exchange for money. Now, this is not to be mistaken with the solution, because when it comes to business, we have your solution, which is also basically your product. So this is what you do to solve the problem and get the result. Okay? This is basically what you deliver. However, what we need to understand is that we also have our offer. And our offer is basically how our solution is perceived. And so what we cannot do this, is go to the market and just say, hi, I have this product and this is what I do, would you buy it? Because no one will. But what people will buy is an offer, they'll buy an outcome, or they'll buy something packaged, right? So this is why okay, so for example, when I used to work with gyms, I would run Facebook ads. And if I reached out to gyms and said, hi, I'm going to run Facebook ads for you, no one would buy. But if I reached out to gyms and said, I'm going to get you qualified, ready to buy potential members through the door, and if I don't, I'll give you a full refund. What do you think someone's more likely to buy? It's kind of the same thing, but your offer is how you package your solution and your product to make it buyable and to make it acceptable for value exchange. And so when it comes to building offers, there's 3 pretty simple components to this. We have, and I'll just draw this, we have the outcome, we have the time frame, and we have the risk reversal. Okay? So 1, 2, 3. So the outcome is basically, remember, this is what you sell. We do not sell products or solutions, we sell outcomes. So we don't go to the lawyer and say, I can help you, I will place a virtual assistant to do your tasks for you. No, we say, I will increase your billable hours by 55% month on month, for example, right? You see where I'm going with this, it's tangible. We don't go to the professional gamers and say, I have a coaching service on posture correction. No. We say, I will eliminate your neck pain and correct your back posture in 30 days or less. We have to focus on the outcome. The next thing is the time frame, which is basically how long does it take for the outcome to manifest once the person has engaged your services or coaching, or once they've acquired the information. So what's the latency between someone joining? So here they join, and here they get. So they register as a client here, and they get what they want here. But there's always going to be a bit of latency between these two things. And so in my business with EasyGrow, for example, people join as clients, and they come on board to get clients and to get appointments. And usually within 90 days, they've got maybe 5 to 10 new clients, and they're starting to add 6 figures to the business. And so the latency for me is usually about 3 months. It can be 6 months sometimes for them to get like 20 clients, right? The next thing is the risk reversal. So people buy things if they feel safe. And safety, at least in business terms, in terms of value exchange and sales, is a belief and an understanding and a perception that if I give this person my money, I'm going to get what they promised me in exchange for that money. And so we need to create a feeling of safety for someone to buy. And we do this through reversing the risk. And risk reversal is simply a guarantee. So you should never look to sell something that you're not willing to give them a refund if they don't like it. Well, not they don't like it, but you tie the risk reversal to the outcome and the time frame. So if you don't get this outcome in this time frame, I will give you back your money. Now, I take this a step further in my business, where my offer is, if you don't get a certain number of clients in a certain number of weeks, I will give you back all your money, but I will also send you thousands of dollars on top to say sorry. So if someone works with my company, the worst thing that can happen to them is they make thousands of dollars net. That never happens because the product's good. But then the question comes about of, you might be asking, well, I don't feel comfortable offering a guarantee because I don't know if it's going to work. Well, that's kind of the point. Like if you don't have the confidence to offer a guarantee, then why should someone have the confidence to buy? And this is the thing as well, you need to understand that your first 5 clients, your first 10 clients, you're probably not going to get it right, and you're probably going to end up having to refund them. And this is fine, because the only way you're going to get good at what you do is by signing lots of clients and practicing and trying to get good. And so you better be prepared for the first couple of clients to be willing to guarantee them and refund them and lose the money that you've made, and that should register as pain, because then you have feedback on how to improve. And so, like I said, getting to 100K a year, it's not easy, but it is very simple, and you need to be willing to make these sacrifices and have some element of risk reversal. And we can look at offers sort of in this way, where we have a person and then we have their goal. And basically, between them and their goal is a problem. Okay? And what they want is the goal, and so this is basically the outcome. Okay? And then between them and their goal, by solving this problem, we have this thing called time, which is basically an elapsement of time. And so what your product should do and what your solution should do is come in and remove this problem so we can have a nice straight path towards them achieving an outcome in a specific time frame. But then what we also want to do down here is have like a trampoline or a net, which is basically to catch them if they fall in the process. And so this is where the risk reversal comes in. So this person understands that on the way to trying to achieve the goal and the outcome, by working with you to solve the problem, as they climb the steps that you lay out for them to get this done, if they fall, they're no worse off than they were when they started. That's safety, and that's an offer. And if you're not willing to offer that, then people won't buy, because the market, sadly, is too mature for people to come in and start ripping people off without risk reversal. Now, step number 7 is to define pricing. So pricing is pretty straightforward. As a rule of thumb, we want to do something called high ticket. Now, you might have heard of this before, but we want to sell high ticket products. Now, a high ticket product is something that people pay thousands of dollars for. We don't want to get caught selling our time by the hour, because that's a trap and that's how you stay poor. We don't want to get caught selling very cheap products for like a couple of dollars here or $100 here. As a rule of thumb, if you're going to do something for someone and you're going to do it monthly, you need to charge at least $1,000 a month or more. And if you're going to do it with them and coach them, it should really be $3,000 or more. And if you're wondering, no one's ever going to pay this, I'd invite you to be very careful in your broke projections. Because when I started trying to charge people $1,000 a month, which I managed to do in the end, I was like, there's no way anyone's ever going to pay $1,000 a month, because I personally couldn't afford $1,000 a month for anything. And so what I started doing is I started projecting my lack of financial abundance onto my niche, which was a huge mistake, because it is entirely possible to charge this. If your market is growing and expanding, which means new people are joining it, and if it has financial abundance and it's in pain, it will find thousands of dollars a month to pay you. And it will, I promise you. And likewise, if you're coaching and doing done with you, then it will also find this. The amount of money people are willing to pay is proportional and directly correlated to the amount of pain they're in and the amount of pain you help them alleviate. And if you want to make more money, you add more value. This is exactly why we start with a real painful problem. You need to find something that really makes people suffer. So, for example, one of my clients is a happily married woman, and she has a product that she calls Find Your Provider Husband. And so what she does is she helps women with finding a man who can provide for them and provide them with financial resources. So some people would say maybe she's a gold digger coach, but there's a market for it, and she charges I think like $5,000-$6,000 to these women to have access to her information on how she found a provider husband and how she had to change and behave to get what she wanted. And she's signed I think like 700 women into this, and she's made millions of dollars doing it. And so this is my point, is like, people will pay. I have seen this time and time again. Another one of my clients, Chris, he helps electrical engineers get a very specific certification or a certificate to be able to work on a specific type of building. And he charges them like $4,000 to go through a course to get this certificate and pass this test, so that this electrician can do this extra little unique piece of work that's more profitable. Like, these niches, they have these little weird problems that they want to solve, and they will pay thousands of dollars to solve those problems, okay? And so the pricing is very simple. Do not charge below this. Do not charge below this if you're coaching, and try and charge as much as you can. And for the first couple of clients, don't do it for free. Just have a guarantee. And you always want to have a guarantee and be willing to give the money back. And don't be afraid to negotiate with people for the first couple of clients, where maybe they pay half now, half later or whatever. But you always want to get paid up front. Sorry, I'm just trying to adjust myself in my chair. You always want to get paid up front for your first couple of clients, because people are going to try and take you for a ride and say, oh, I'll pay you afterwards. Don't do it. Even if it takes you like 100 sales calls to get your first client, trust me, it'll be worth it. So that's the pricing thing. So once you've done that, the next bit's pretty simple. We want to have company set up. So a lot of people, they make this mistake when they start a business of, the first thing they do is they create a logo and a name and a website, and they create all their social media handles, and they get a mug with their logo on it, and then they start getting they get weird. Like, you've got to realize the external marketing assets that a company has is not the company, okay? Like, what I'm gonna label out some things that you need to have here. So you need to basically have a domain and a basic website. But really it's gonna be a funnel, but you don't have to worry about that. You need to have an email. You need to have a company, and I'm just gonna put legally. You need to have a Stripe to process payments. What else do you need? That's pretty much it. And you can, I wouldn't bother with socials or anything, but maybe like a little bit of a personal brand as well, like a LinkedIn profile, so that people know who you are and stuff. But your domain, your email, company, so you actually need to register a company like an LLC in the US or an LTD in the UK. You don't actually need to do this until you started to make money. So I wouldn't worry about getting the legal thing right until you started processing payments, because any money you make will just be taxed in lieu of you being a freelancer, at least in the UK. You need Stripe, because Stripe is how you do this. Also, you're going to need a bank. So you're going to need to set up a company bank account, which you can also do. And then your personal brand is like a couple of little social profiles. The problem is when people start a business, is they start here. And they start by spending 2 months getting the website right, and then they spend like another month designing the logo and picking the colors, and then they do like a thing over here, and then they start doing like blogs and stuff. And that's not a company. What a company really is it's a niche, a problem, a solution, an offer, and a price. those are the foundations of a six-figure online business, like a one-man six-figure online business. You need these things, and these things help you seem legitimate, but they aren't the company. Like a website is not a business. A website is just a page that explains the foundations of the business. And so the reason why this is step number 8 and not step number 1 is because there's no point in getting an email and a domain until you've got all of your foundations in place, because we start with the market, extract a problem, package the problem into a solution, package the solution into an offer, so we've actually got something to sell and price it, and now we can start building something that actually looks like something that's tangible, so people develop trust to purchase from us, right? So that's step number 8, company setup. You don't really need much beyond a bank account, a Stripe account. You can use Wise or Revolut or something for the bank account, and a website. And you don't even need a website, to be honest, but like a LinkedIn profile or somewhere someone can go to find you. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward, and that's that. I was also going to put here number 9. Was going to be financial setup. So what you want to do is you want to basically create a spreadsheet to track all of your expenses and all of your like income. So you want to be able to log, consistently log all the money you make, all the money you spend in a spreadsheet. This is like bank accounts, Stripe, pretty simple. You can get an accountant when you need one. You won't need one to start with. So that's really phase 1, that's the foundations. That's getting the basic things right so that you've actually got legs. You know, the business actually has the ability to make money, add value, and contribute to the market in some way, shape, or form. Now, the next thing, number 10, is your mind. So this is sort of phase 2. So we've been through phase 1, which is foundations, but phase 2 is your mind. And this is where we need to basically make sure that your mindset is in the right place. Because what's going to happen is you're going to have to start doing things that you've never done before. And you're going to have to start solving problems you've never solved before. And you are going to have to get way, way out of your comfort zone when it comes to client acquisition, client delivery, and you're really going to be tested. Like the universe is really going to test you. So what we want to do is prepare for that test by making sure that our mindset is straight before we go into battle, okay? And so the first thing you want to do in terms of your mindset is you want to define the following: beliefs, skills, and character traits. And so what we're looking to do at the beginning of phase 2 here, and this really is very important to the business, trust me, it's very important, is you have this person here and you have this person here. Now this person is you now, this person is you making 10K a month. So if you ask yourself, like, what are you? Well, really you're a collection of beliefs, which are statements of perceived truth. You're a collection of skills and characteristics. The problem you have, and the problem you're going to be faced with, is right now, as of you starting this business, you are not capable of making 10K a month because you don't have the skills to do it, you don't have the character traits to do it, and you don't have the belief systems to do it. And if you already had the beliefs, the skills, and the character traits, then you would already be there. Because we don't achieve goals, we achieve identities, and it's through the achievement of the identity that the goal happens, okay? If you stay who you are, you'll stay where you are, basically. And so what we need to do now is define, what does this person look like? Someone making 10K a month or someone making 100K a year, like, what's different to them from me? And now you need to be prepared to change. You need to be prepared to sacrifice your current identity and your current belief systems and your current, abilities to change. And so you want to look at the beliefs you have associated with money, for example. Like, do you think that it's really hard to make money online? Do you think that no one's going to pay $1,000 a month? You want to start defining the restrictive beliefs and the limiting beliefs you have that are basically out of alignment with the 100K a year goal that you have. So when you tell yourself, I'm going to make 100K a year, what doubts crop up? What things do you tell yourself that don't line up with that thing and cause this conflict? You want to find them, you want to root them out, and you want to get rid of them by affirming that they're not true. And basically, when you find a belief that is damaging, and when you find a belief that is limiting, you want to find the opposite of that belief and tell it to yourself over and over and over and over and over again, tens of thousands of times until you've rewired your brain to believe the opposite. Because perception is reality, and what is real is what we believe is real. And so if you want to change a certain part of your life, you kind of have to start by believing that you can change it and believing that it's a different way, and then the universe kind of catches up. And so when I was 19 and I was starting, I believed it was like really hard to make money. And I just told myself like 20,000 times, money is easy to make, and I find it easy to make money. And lo and behold, I believe that now, like it's my truth. And it might not be for you now, but you need to register this and change it. So that's the first thing you do, is you look at your belief systems, you map them out, you ask yourselves, what do I believe to be true that is holding me back from getting to this person and becoming this person, and then letting them go and getting rid of the belief systems. The next thing is your skills. So you need to ask yourself, what does someone making 100K a year as a one-man business, what do they look like in terms of their skill set? Like, what are they capable of? And I can really tell you that it's going to come down to like really 2 skills. There's 3 skills actually that you need to develop. And they're pretty straightforward. The first one is appointment booking. Okay. The second one is sales. And the third one is value delivery / client care. Now, because you're doing this on your own, and this is a one-man business, we're not gonna worry about ads and marketing and funnels. We're not gonna worry about hiring. We're not gonna worry about management. We're not gonna worry about tax strategies. We're not gonna worry about there are dozens of really advanced skills that you need to learn to get to millions a year, right? But just to get to 100K a year, you only need to be good at 3 things. That's 4 things. 3 things. That's also, I just look like I've got a problem. Appointment booking. This is the first skill. This is, are you able to find people in your niche and convince them through cold email, cold calling, or cold DM or content that they should spend an hour with you talking about how you can help them solve their problem? That's skill number 1. Are you capable of booking appointments with your niche to sell them? The second thing is sales. Are you capable and good at getting people to buy from you? So once they are on the phone, and once you've mastered the appointment booking thing and you can get people to talk to you, are you able to convert them into paying clients? Do you have the skill of properly questioning people to find out what their problem is and to pull pain points out? Are you able to pitch properly? And are you able to handle objections properly and answer questions properly? Can you listen properly? Can you put people under pressure? Can you display empathy? All of these skills that come into sales, really, if you know how to do appointment booking and sales, you're always going to be able to make 100K a year. Because even if you don't get the value delivery thing right, you can just bring people in, sell them, and then just churn them and make money like that. That's not a good way to do business, but it's a possibility. However, this is why I've put number 3 here, which is value delivery or client care. And this is basically the thing that you're doing. So the other skill you need to have in conjunction with booking appointments and closing appointments is like solving their problem. So actually delivering the result you say you can deliver, because this is a skill in and of itself. So for example, Chris, the guy I was talking about earlier, his skill is teaching electrical engineers how to get a specific certification. Another person I know helps lawyers pass the bar. Another person, one of our other clients, helps wealthy parents in the Middle East and the Far East get their children into prestigious schools in the UK, like Oxford and Cambridge. And so they need to learn how to do that, and they have a skill, right? And that skill is client care or value delivery. If you get good at booking appointments, closing appointments, and taking care of your clients and getting them what they want, you will make 100K a year. Provided you don't have any beliefs standing in your way, any weird beliefs about your niche or yourself, if you have these skills, you can make 100K a year without anybody under you, no team, no hiring, no nothing, very straightforward. Bob's your uncle. Now, the last thing that you also need to change about yourself are your character traits. So once again, what does someone making 100K a year, what traits do they have? A trait is basically a filter of behavior. And so a few that I can give you in association with 10K a month or 100K a year is patience, impulse control, discipline, hardworking, these are a few examples, and you can list out lots of different traits here that you can probably, imagine and picture, but I'll just give you a few. So, if you're not patient, it's not going to work, because I'm now a patient person. When I started, I was not, and so I realized I need to be able to delay gratification and wait. You also need to have impulse control, because you're going to work with lots of people and they're going to piss you off, and you're going to get upset and emotional about things, and you need to be able to manage that. You need to be disciplined. You need to be able to work hard. You need to be able to adapt. You need to be able to take care of yourself. You need to be able to be healthy. There's lots of different character traits that you need to be responsible for, and this is kind of why we're doing this mind thing now, because I can teach you how to, and I'm going to give you all of the stuff you need for appointment booking and sales later in the video, but if fundamentally you believe that it's not going to work, and you don't even know what you need to know, and you're impatient as fuck, and you can't even get out of bed in the morning, then it's just not going to work, okay? We don't have business problems, we have personal problems that reflect into our business. And so if there's ever an issue, if there's ever a corporate issue in your business, it's usually because of you, and it usually sits on top of you, so we kind of need to fix that and register it. So the next thing, well, we've kind of already done this. So this was actually step 11, 12, and 13, which was basically, beliefs, characteristics, or character, and then skills, although these two were switched around. And, this is kind of step 11, 12, and 13 is challenging these things and defining these things. And what you want to basically do is make a document, like a Google Doc or a PDF, of everything that you believe to be true that's going to hold you back, every single character trait you have that's going to hold you back. And once you've got these things, you need to start working on them every day. And then you obviously can have a list of your skills as well. Pretty straightforward stuff, and that's that. Now, the next thing to do, and this is a big one before we actually start trying to get customers on the business, this is huge. This is a big one. Sacrifice. So, look, everyone says they want to be successful, but the true measure of want is how much someone's willing to give up for their goal. And so what you now want to do before we start sort of launching the attack and trying to book appointments basically is, and getting good at what we do, is, and I'm going to show you how to do that in a second, is we need to get rid of things in our life. So you need to be willing to get rid of bad people that don't help you achieve your goal. And you want to look at every single behavior and every single thing that you do in your life right now and ask yourself, does this help me or restrict me from getting towards my goal? And the things that help you, you do more of, and the things that restrict you, you cut. Some examples of things that restrict you: social media, gaming, alcohol, drugs, bad friends, bad people, random social events and parties, pornography, any of these bad habits, any of these bad things you do, you got to sacrifice them. You got to get rid of them. And the good things that you do, like exercising, eating clean, reading, you want to do more of. And so everything you do in your life should be filtered through that one question of, does this help me or does this hinder me in my pursuit of my objective? And if you can sacrifice the things that don't and do more of the things that do, then you're going to have more energy, more resources, more time, and a way clearer, better brain to accomplish your goal. And if we get to this point and you're not willing to do this, then you're not going to be successful. You either make sacrifices for your goal, or your goal becomes the sacrifice. Okay? This thing's going to stretch you and test you, and sure, you can get to 100K a year whilst being an idiot, but it's way harder and you're way more likely to quit. So be prepared to get rid of everything and sort of enter this sort of weird period of your life where you don't really have much fun, because it's going to be tough. Okay? Now, phase 3. Phase 3. So the question you might have been asking yourself is, okay, well, how do I actually deliver the thing that I need to deliver? And how do I get good at helping people? And how do I know that if someone buys from me, they're going to get results? And those would be very good questions. So stage 15 is heavy research on problem. So once you've defined your foundations and you've found the problem that you want to solve for people, it's now time to perform some very extensive research on that problem. And what we're looking to do is we're looking to define why the problem exists, how long it's existed for, and we're trying to find people that have basically solved it and, interview them and basically research the problem. Now, I can't really give you anything beyond this because every problem is going to be unique and different, but you need to sit with this problem for a long time and understand that the only thing that stands between you and 100K a year is your ability to solve this problem. The appointment booking thing and the sales thing is very easy because the sales thing takes care of itself, because if you learn how to actually solve this problem and you get really good at it, then sales calls become really easy because you almost don't even need to know how to sell because you've got so much confidence and so much conviction in your abilities that that person just trusts you. And you don't even worry about sales calls because you're an expert. Same thing with appointment booking is you can create these insane, outlandish offers because you're so good at what you do. So everything, like the harder it is for you to solve, the more time you spend and the harder it is for you to solve this problem, the easier it will be for you to get clients and actually make money. And so your entire business hinges on this. And so what we want to do at the beginning is sit down with a paper and some pen for weeks on end, and I mean weeks, and really just dig into this thing. If you pick, for example, let's say that you take, I don't know, let's say that you take people who want to work for NASA. And one of the problems that you help them solve is you help them with getting to a certain level of cardio fitness so that they can be fit with zero gravity, right? Very specific niche. But you would need to find out, how do I help these people have low heart rates with zero gravity? I don't know if that's exactly how it works, but you get my point, right? You find this specific problem that they will pay to solve, and then you need to spend your entire life, for a few weeks and months maybe, finding the solution to that. And really, another place you can start on step 16 is, step 16 here is interview solutionees. Can't really read my writing, but you want to find people that have done it. Because if I can tell you this right now, if you're trying to serve a niche and you can't find a single person that has solved the problem, there is a chance that it cannot be solved or it's going to be too difficult to be solved. Prime example, I had a client called Aurelian, and Aurelian tried to start a marketing agency for interior designers. And no one had ever done it before. There were no interior designing marketing agencies. And he tried for like a year to try and figure out how to get them clients and how to get them results. But because no one had ever done it before, he was just in uncharted territory. He had no knowledge to base it off. He couldn't do any research on the topic because no one had done it before. And therefore, he was trying to figure out on his own. There will be a way to solve that, and there will be a way to figure it out. And if you figure it out, you'll make a lot of money because no one can do it right now. But my point is that you want to pick a problem that has already been solved, or at least in some way, shape, or form has clues as to how it can be solved. And the only way you're going to do that is by finding people that have done it. And so, it's straightforward enough to understand and engage. You need to find people that have solved the problem and interview them. You need to listen to those people. You try and read books they've written, try and find podcasts, YouTube videos, articles, blog posts, communities, ask as many people as you can. Just find, all you need to do is find one person that solved the problem and hound them and pay them if you have to and do whatever you can to extract that information from them, because this is what a problem is. A problem is, it's a bundle of chaos, and information is order. And if the order is applied to the chaos unfolds into order. And that's how we solve problems, is we find and seek information and apply that information to the situation so the situation is resolved. And so when you're trying to research this problem, all you're trying to do is look for the information that can be applied to solve it. And so how do you find information? Well, it's words. How do you find words? It's people speaking, it's people talking, it's people reading, it's people writing, it's reading, it's looking. I can't tell you where to go. All I can tell you is that it's probably been solved and that someone exists who solved it, and you've got to get hella creative to figure it out. But if you do, it's game over. Once you've got this thing on lock, getting clients is easy, and you'll just print money. Print. Problem solvers make the money, okay? So the next thing is number 17. Number 17, which is to copy successful competitors. So a lot of people have this idea that they shouldn't copy people. and they don't want to be a copycat. It's kind of stupid. If you're in the market and you've got a competitor and you're joining this market and that competitor's already working and solving the problem, just steal their stuff and copy them. No one can stop you. At this level of business, no one can sue anyone because it costs more to sue than they'd make. So if you are in a marketing niche and someone is delivering results, find their clients, find the clients' ads on Google Ads. You can like search for ads and stuff. Like talk to their clients, find out what they did. Like pretend to be a client, hop on a sales call. It's no holds barred. You can do anything you want. Copy your successful competitors. Find the people that get the best results in your niche and steal their processes and copy them and model them. Now, this is not a long-term strategy, and you can't do this because you'll never beat them. But if you just want to get to like 10K a month, 100K a year, and that's your main goal, you can live in their shadow and you can be the parasite that feeds on the shark. That's absolutely fine. If you want to beat them, this won't work. But if you just want to get by, this will work, okay? So you can copy them. There's some permission for you. Probably some unconventional advice, but it works. Now, number 18 to solving this problem is to apply disciplines. So one of my favorite ways to get advantages in terms of product building and providing solutions to people is looking at external disciplines to solve them. And what I mean by this is a discipline is it's a study of a component of reality. And so, for example, economics is a discipline, the study of macro exchange. Or biology is a discipline, or chemistry is a discipline, or physics is a discipline, or history is a discipline, geography is a discipline, philosophy is a discipline, music's a discipline, art history is a discipline. Anything that can be academically studied is a discipline. And what you want to try and do is, you might understand one or two of these disciplines because maybe you did psychology at school or maybe you know how to play the flute. I don't care. But what you'll find is as you're trying to solve this problem, you'll find that there are ideas from these disciplines that assist in helping you solve this problem or at least explain the nature of the problem and how it can be solved. And so a primary example, I've probably done it a fair few times throughout this video, as you might have noticed, I'm just pulling random ideas in from different things. But a primary example is I read a chemistry textbook when I was 19. In case you couldn't tell, I didn't have a girlfriend at the time. I read a chemistry textbook, and in that chemistry textbook, I learned about something called alloying, which is basically how steel is created or something like that, where you take two base metals and you combine them together to get a stronger metal. And that's how strong metals are created. And when I was trying to figure out how to solve my problem for my clients, which became cold email, I was stuck between these two, I was in this dichotomy where I was like, do I send lots of cold emails and go for a volume approach and go for a quantity approach, or do I go for a higher quality, lower volume approach? So it's either quantity or quality. And I fell into this trap of thinking that with my cold emails, I could only send a lot or I could send a few, but the few that I sent would be really good and really personalized. And when I read alloying, I had this idea where I was like, what if I alloy here? What if I combine the two and do quality, where I send a lot of emails, but really good ones? And so I sacrifice a little bit of quality and I sacrifice a little bit of quantity, but marry them together and I have a component that is stronger than the sum of its parts. And that's called alloying. And so I had this idea from chemistry and I tried it and it worked. And I created this system which we teach in our products called the Terminator Loom system, where we use cold email looms to get clients, and it's automated and it's like a quality email, but you can send hundreds of them a day, and that came about because I studied chemistry. So where you can, ask yourself everything that you read, this is how I think, everything that I read and every piece of information that I filter and process through my reading or anything I learn is filtered through the question of how do I use this to further accelerate my client results. If you do that, and if you filter everything new you learn through that and you try to do that, you're gonna find some discoveries that will blow your mind, and this is how you can take over and destroy everyone. This is more of a 7-figure, 8-figure strategy. This is how to get to the top of your game and become this ruinous force that just takes over the market and destroys everyone. This is what I did with my market, with client acquisition for high-ticket businesses. No one can beat us. And the reason no one can beat us is because when I'm learning stuff, I'm asking myself constantly, how can I use this thing to get better client results? If I'm reading a biography, how can I use this to solve my client's problem better? If I'm reading, chemistry or biology or history or geography or anything that I learn, if I watch a podcast, I learn something new. It's like, how can I use this to get my clients more clients? You probably won't need to do this right now, and you probably won't want to do this right now because you don't know anything about the disciplines. But after a while, if you want to get to 8 figures, trust me, little industry secret for you from someone that's actually done it. It works incredibly well, and I'd recommend it. The next thing is number 19, which is a test run. Now, the thing is what you're trying to do, well, really, hang on, this is kind of better if I explain it like this. Number 19 is a hypothesis. So once you have got the information and the models, and once you have done enough research on this problem and you understand why it exists, how to solve it, and how other people have solved it, you can start to develop a solution hypothesis, which is basically a guess, which is kind of a statement to yourself like, okay, if I apply this information to the majority of my niche, they will get the result after this time frame. And so this becomes a hypothesis. And so what you want to learn to do, like a scientist, is find the information, and that information is now a hypothesis. And a hypothesis is like, okay, I'm now going to go and test this hypothesis, which basically means you're pretty much ready to get clients. But there is one more step, which is 20, is thinking critically. So critical thinking is basically where you question your hypothesis. I'm not going to get into this because critical thinking isn't something that you necessarily need to be very good at to get to 100K a year. But basically, you want to, the hypothesis, the point I'm making here is the hypothesis needs to have reason behind it. You need to be able to basically discern the cause and effect relationship between the application of the information and the resolution of the problem. Critical thinking is basically being able to define why things happen and why things are the way they are. And so if the client has a problem and you think you have a solution, you need to be able to discern why that solution solves that problem, okay? So to give you an example here, let's say that I am a chiropractor and I do chiropractic practices for people. Chiropractic practices, doesn't really make sense. But if I go to a client and that client has severe lower back pain, I have a hypothesis, which is like, okay, well, if I make a manipulation at this part of their spinal cord, and if I change this disc and I rotate it at 20 degrees, then this pain will be gone. That's a hypothesis. But you better bloody hope that your chiropractor has done some critical thinking here and understands, okay, if I move that disc, then it's going to move that vertebrae in that direction, which will re-rotate the pelvis by 30 degrees. 30 degrees would be a lot, that'd be a very heavy rotation, but it's going to re-rotate the pelvis and it's going to untrap the nerve that's trapped, which means that when they bend over in that way, the pain won't register anymore. You need to be able to discern the chain of causality that determines and dictates the result. Because this is the end result here, which is no pain, but this might be untrapping a nerve, which might be rotating the pelvis, which might be, switching a vertebrae around, which might be, doing a manipulation on the neck. And so when you have your hypothesis, it's not good enough to just have a guess. You need to have reasoning behind the guess. You need to be able to register the cause and effect chain or relationship that's going to happen if you solve this problem, right? And so, for example, I am right now giving you a hypothesis. All these steps that I'm giving you to start a business and become successful and get to 100K a year, it's not a guess because I've done it, but it's a hypothesis insofar as the fact that I'm giving you a set of variables and a linear chain of action that you can follow to get to 100K a year. And I can assure you that behind the hypothesis I have for 100K a year as a one-man business, there is a lot of critical thinking because what I'm doing here with every single step is I'm fully explaining the step and why it needs to be done and how it helps you achieve the result. And if you can't do that with your hypothesis after enough studying and research, then you just have a random guess. You're basically hoping it's going to work, and hope is a very fallible strategy when it comes to macroeconomic progress in your life. That was a rather poetic way of putting it. So that's phase 3. Now phase 4 is sales. So now we need to actually learn how to sell. Because really, let's do a bit of a recap at this point. Okay, so obviously this what I've written on the board might take you 3 to 6 months to do. Probably shouldn't take you that long, because you should be trying to do everything at once, if that makes sense. But this is going to take you a few months. So what we have at this point is we have our foundations. Okay, which means that we have our niche, we have our problem, we have our solution, we have our offer, we have our price. NPSOP. These are the foundations: niche, problem, solution, offer, price. Now, the other thing we also have is we have our mind in the right place, which means that we're working on developing the right belief systems, we're working on our character traits, and we understand what skills we need to develop. And the third thing we now have, after having done that, is we have an expertise. Or at least, not an expertise, but we have a hypothesis that's been critically thought through that discerns the relationship between problem and solution. And so what this now means is you're pretty much ready to start getting clients and to actually start making money. And so everything we've done here is sort of the groundwork for the business. Now, the other thing that we'd have here is, in addition to our foundations, is like some external tangible things that make the business tangible, like a LinkedIn profile or a Facebook profile or a little website funnel or something like that, or a company structure and a bank account, like all these other tangible arbitrary things that actually indicate the running of a business, right? Spreadsheets, Google Drives, this sort of stuff, right? So once we've done this, now we need to learn how to sell. And sales is pretty straightforward because, once again, like I said, you will have loads of confidence in your ability to get people on board if you actually know what you're doing. So this is why the expertise thing is so important, because the sales thing is really easy if you actually believe you can get people results. If you believe your hypothesis works, people will just think that, because Jordan Belfort said this. Jordan Belfort is a great person to learn sales from, not so much a moralistic standpoint, because he's a Wolf of Wall Street guy, right? He said that sales is at the highest level, or at first principle, sales is a transfer of emotion. And the only emotion that you should really be concerned with trying to transfer is that of confidence and conviction. People buy because they feel confident that you can deliver them the result that they want. And nothing screams confidence quite like someone who's just spent a month or 2 months of their life locked in a room researching that problem with total vigor, and now they actually have a hypothesis they think is going to work, and they've been able to define the causes that make it work. Like, if you hop on a sales call, it's game over. You're going to just run over your prospects, and they'll just buy because you've got so much conviction, right? So sales is straightforward. Now, I want to give you these steps. So step 21 is learn fundamentals. So I'm not going to do this with you now, because to learn the fundamentals of sales is going to take you a couple of hours of research, and this video is going to be quite a long one anyway. But hop on YouTube, hop on podcasts, and spend a few days doing nothing but listening to the fundamentals of sales. You need to learn things like silence. You need to learn things like empathy. You need to learn things like discovery. You need to learn things like tonality. You need to learn things like the theory behind objection handling. You want to spend time listening to people who know what they're talking about when it comes to sales. Pretty straightforward, sales fundamentals, blah, blah, blah. 22, this is a great one to do, is watch closed calls. So on YouTube, there's lots of people that have uploaded live sales calls. And what you want to search on YouTube is live, high ticket, sales call recording. And what you'll find are dozens and dozens and dozens of examples of people, real entrepreneurs, who are selling information, closing thousands of dollars on the phone in one call. And you want to watch every single one of these, at least as many as you can. And there's loads of them, and they exist, and you can go and watch them. And what that will do is that will familiarize you with the overall structure of a high-ticket sales call, so that when you start learning how to do the specific parts of the sales call and the specific components of the sales call, you're already familiar with the overarching structure. Because a sales call is a holistic affair. And what that means is that every single part of the call feeds into and impacts every other part of the call. And so, for example, it's not good enough for you to just know how to handle objections, because if you mess up the discovery part of the call, which is where you ask questions at the beginning, of the call to ask the person about their problems and their pains so you can understand them. If you mess that up, then the objection handling thing is messed up. If you mess up the pitch, then you're going to mess up the close. If you mess up the close, you're going to mess up the onboarding. It needs to be perfect in a linear chain, and you need to understand and to be able to discern how all of these components feed into the close. And the easiest way to do that is watch some live, long examples, and if you do that, it makes it pretty straightforward. Now, the next thing that you want to do, and once again, this can all be learned through YouTube. The wonderful thing about learning sales is there's so much sales advice on YouTube, so it's pretty straightforward, is you want to start writing your script, okay? And a script really only comes into, like, there's two components of a script, right? So 1, 2. So number 19, I'm gonna write this here as 23 and 24. So step 23 and 24 is script. So we want to write something called a line of questioning, and we want to write a pitch. So once again, you can go on YouTube, and I'm not going to do this here in detail because it's going to take too long, but you want to write a line of questioning, which is basically kind of like being a lawyer, where you want to have a list of questions that you ask the prospect to extract information from them to determine if they are a potential fit for your service. And really, when it comes to line of questioning, the first thing we're doing is an introduction, which is like, hey, how are you? Where are you calling from? And then it's current situation. And then it's desired situation. And then it's wrapping in emotion. So most of your questions that you ask should be designed to explore the problem the person has, and you should know this problem. So, like, if you're hopping on a call with people who sell, people who sell racing horses. Let's say your niche is someone who trains, this is an easier example, your niche is someone who trains professional racing horses for, like, horse racing events. And, the problem that they have is the horse's hind legs tensing up due to pressure. Random example. Probably not a problem that exists, but let's say that's a specific problem. If you know how to release that tension and help the horses go 3% faster due to a specific type of massage on the back leg of a horse, you know this problem inside out. And so when you hop on the call, you're looking to explore this problem. How long has the horse had this problem for? How's its time? How much has its time that it can lap the lap reduced? Whatever the fuck, right? But you want to ask questions that define the current situation, and really, 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 you need to pull the problem. The whole point of a sales call is to pull the problem apart and pull on that string as much as you can. Not so that you understand it better, but so that they understand it better. Because when you pull on the string and pull on the string and pull on the string, they become more and more aware of this problem. And when you talk about your problems, it's painful and it hurts. And what we're going to do on the sales call is we're going to try and close this person. And the only reason someone makes a decision to buy, and the only reason anyone does anything, is because they're in pain. And so the whole point of these questions is to extract as much pain as possible. Because when you have a problem in your personal life and it really hurts and it sucks and you don't really want to talk to anyone about it, the reason you don't want to talk to anyone is because it's really painful to talk about. And the funny thing is that when you start talking about it, that pain level goes really far up, which is when you actually start doing something to solve it. And the only reason you do something to solve it, for example, let's say that you're overweight and you never talk to anyone about it, and you start talking to someone, and then the next day you decide you're going to go to the gym and get fit and healthy. It's because you're in so much pain because the problem's been sort of dredged up from the depths at which you've repressed it. And so we pull it apart. The next thing we do is we future pace. So this is desired situation. Once again, you can YouTube, how to write a discovery and stuff like that, because there's all sorts of trainers out there that will help you with that. But you want to, with the desired situation, is you want to future pace. So future pacing in sales is where we get someone to start creating an imaginary image or vision of what their life would look like if this problem was non-existent and if this problem was solved. And so, for example, if you were working with horse trainers and you helped the horse trainers, with the hind legs of the horse, and you solve that problem, then the horse trainer would maybe get a pay rise by 20%, and maybe they'd get a medal, and then maybe they'd actually get the approval of their father, who was a horse trainer who doesn't like them. There's all sorts of reasons to why people want to solve problems, right? And so we want to understand this desired situation. What this then means is by knowing where they are right now and by figuring this problem out in lots of detail, we have lots of pain. And then by future pacing and by extending this thing out and stretching it out to the future so that they know what their life could be like if this problem was solved, now we have lots of desire. And when we add pain and desire together, this is how we get a close. Because people, they really want the future and they really don't want the present. And so when we talk about these things and extrapolate them out and just really, really get into the granular details of these things, it's like something just clicks in their mind. And this is when they make decisions to buy. People have pain thresholds and desire thresholds at which they make decisions to do things. It's called impulse, right? And that's what we're trying to trigger in this thing. And then the other thing we want to do is we want to wrap this in emotion. So that all your questions should be designed to, create pain or desire, pretty much. That's kind of how you create sales questions. And so, for example, if someone hopped on a sales call with me for my product, I'd start off by saying, what motivated you to join the call? So I want to understand, why are you here? And then they'll be like, oh, I've got this problem that you said you can solve. And it's then I'm like, okay, well, how long has this problem existed? Why do you think this problem exists? What have you done before to solve it? Why didn't that work? Okay, well, tell me a little bit more about that, and really getting into the grips of it. And it's okay, well, if this problem was solved, what would that mean for you? And what would the outcome be of the solution? And how do you think that would impact your life? And how would your future change? And how would the future of your family change if this problem was solved and you got that outcome? Wrap it up. Obviously, there's more to it than this. This is a skill. The questioning thing's a big skill, but you can do some research and you should be able to figure it out pretty quickly by watching these other cool reviews to build your line of questioning. Now, the next thing is the pitch. So the pitch is an interesting thing because people think in sales that you need to have these really long pitches that explain everything about what you do. It's not true. Your pitch should really be no longer than 2 minutes. So the structure of a sales call is as follows. They hop in the call, you say hi. Then you do the line of questioning. And then after the line of questioning, you very briefly, very vaguely explain what you do and what the result is of working with you. Then what will happen is because you've purposefully left it vague, the prospect has no choice but to start pulling information from you. And what this will do is they will ask questions about your service around things that they are solely concerned with. So when it comes to your service, you could rant about it for 4 or 5 hours. You could talk about it in every little inch of detail for hours on end. But the problem is that there's only a few select details that the customer or the prospect is going to actually care about. And that will vary and differ from prospect to prospect. And so when we write a pitch, and we talk about what we can do in the outcome, we purposely leave it very vague and very high level so that, our pitch, for example, right now for our company is 3-4 minutes long, right? Yours should be shorter, but we've got a lot of stuff going on, so it has to be a bit longer. But then they'll ask questions, and they will ask questions about how it works and specifically how it will work for them and their situation. And then you answer these questions concisely, you shut up, you let them ask another one, and after they've asked you enough questions, they will now have a fully built picture in their mind specifically of how it will work exactly for them. And there are going to be key core details that they won't be aware of, but you don't need to tell them, because often what paralyzes decision and what paralyzes action on sales calls is an overload of information. We call it analysis paralysis, where you've got so much information that you just need to digest it because you don't feel safe making a decision because there's so much to think about. And so, 2 minutes long pitch, you're writing a very high level, vague explanation of what you do, and you're keeping it very focused and delivered on the result. So I can sort of probably tell you from what I used to do with gyms, is for gyms, I would just say something like this, where it's okay, well, we have a really straightforward process. We're going to get you on board. First thing we're going to do is we're going to get you 100 appointments for free. And what that means is we're going to use your existing contacts, past members and past leads to get you anywhere between 100 to 400 appointments walking through the door in the next 2 weeks immediately. Once we've done that, we're going to build specified special marketing campaigns specifically for the gym. We're going to draw a 5-kilometer radius around your area, and we're going to get people in that have money to buy, because you've told me that your gym membership services are $200, $300 a month, which means that you don't want to be working with people or talking to people that can't afford it. So what we're going to craft specific messages. We're going to take care of everything from A to B on the whole marketing side of things, and all you have to do is be there on hand to talk to people who are qualified to buy when they walk in the door. After doing this with us for about 4 weeks, 8 weeks, you're probably going to have another 30 to 50 members continually coming in the door every single month for the gym. It's really straightforward. It works incredibly well, and we've done it for so many people, and I think it's going to work incredibly well for you. So that's how it works. What questions do you have? That's an example of a pitch. Notice how high level it is, and what I'm doing is I'm telling them exactly what they want. I'm telling them the truth, but I'm telling them exactly what they want to hear. And now, because it's so vague, this person, they might have questions about the qualification parameters, or they might be more concerned about what the data protection laws are around the data usage. They might wonder what platform we use. They might wonder what funnel building software. Like, you have to let them just ask questions and pull the information from you. Otherwise, you're going to go off on this massive rant and just confuse the hell out of them, and they won't buy. And so this is really what constitutes your sales script in step 22 and 23 and 24. What questions are you going to ask them? And once you've asked the questions, what are you going to tell them about what you do? And then let them ask you what they want to know, right? Pretty simple. Now, the next thing, let's just have a look here on my handy notepad. The next thing is number 25, that side of the pen, 25, which is objections. Now, towards the end of a sales call, before the close, someone's going to ask you what the price is. They're going to say, okay, well, how much does it cost to work with you? You're then going to tell them the price, like it's $1,000 a month or it's $4,000 one time. And they are now going to have objections, which means they're going to say things like, I need to talk to my partner. I want to think about it. I want to take some time to process this. I can't do it right now, or can I do this? Anything that isn't a yes is a maybe, usually, right? No one ever says no. They come up with these weird objections. And so what you need to learn to do is handle objections. And that's the sales lingo for this type of thing, is handling objections. Once again, this could be a 5 to 10 hour video in and of itself. I'm not going to get into it here. I'm just telling you overall at a macro level what you need to learn to do to be a successful salesperson. You can watch an infinite number of videos on YouTube about this. There's frameworks, there's technicals, there's scripts. I won't bother with it now because you can go and watch it. That's step 25, is you need to learn how to handle objections. Now, step 26 is you'll also need to be comfortable taking payment. So what's going to happen is that if you do this all correctly and all successfully, is you're going to actually get payments from people, and people are going to buy from you. And so what we need to learn to do is how to take payments. And so you need to know how to use Stripe. You need to know how to use softwares that collect card payments. You need to know what questions to ask people. You need to know how to enter their billing address. And they will give you their card details on the phone. So you can just either send them a link for them to fill out the card details, or you can ask them for the card details and fill it out for them. But you need to know how to do this. I'm not going to say how to use Stripe. You can figure that one out yourself, I'm sure. But you need to know how to take payments. If it's going to be a bank transfer, and which bank are they transferring to? Which currency are they using? Do you have to charge them tax? You need to think these things through before you hop on these sales calls. Otherwise, you're going to get stumped when it's time to actually start processing money and taking payments. Number 27 is onboarding system. So the next thing you need to have, and you need to build this eventually, is you need to build a little process for getting clients on board. So basically what you're doing is you're closing someone and you're going to deliver that information to them, either through doing it for them, but you're going to apply the information to the problem on their behalf, or you're going to give it to them by coaching them, right? And in order for them to properly receive that information, or in order for that information to be properly applied to their situation to deliver the outcome and solve the problem, well, we need to get them on board. And onboarding is kind of an American term used to define bringing someone on board, right, onto the ship. So they're coming into the business as a client. And you need to know specifically you need to make a list of things that they need to do so that you can do your job properly. So for example, when I was working with gyms, my onboarding process, I needed to have access to spreadsheets that they had. I needed access to their CRM. I needed all their leads. I needed their databases. I needed their Facebook pixel. I needed all their Facebook business manager accounts. I needed sales call recordings. I needed lots of stuff. And so you need to make a list of everything you need from the client that they need to give you, and then you can make a nice Google Doc that you can give to the client with like a video shot so they know specifically what to do, and they know exactly what to do so that them coming on board and sort of integrating with you and integrating with your API is nice and straightforward. Okay, it's like a puzzle piece. Like you need to slot in together, and now you can connect, and now the result can be transferred and delivered. Okay, step 27. I did warn you this is going to be a long video. Step 28 is your terms. Terms of business. So the next thing you need to do is write a very simple terms of agreement for your company and for your clients. So, when someone joins, you need to send them a contract, and that contract should basically state the deliverables, so specifically what you're doing for them. It should state the price and how much they're paying for the deliverables, and it should state the guarantee terms and how the money back thing works. I'm not going to give you one of these, and I'm not going to tell you how to write one of these because I'm not a lawyer, and quite frankly, I don't want to get in trouble for giving you legal advice when I'm not qualified to give it. If you're not sure what sort of terms to use, then you can go online and just find boilerplate, simple terms that are pre-written. Trust me, no one's going to sue you at this level because if they've paid you $2,000, it's going to cost them 10 times that in lawyer fees to even get remotely close to suing you. But you still want to have terms. And for as long as you refund people, and for as long as you're prepared to refund people and do the right thing, you never need to really be worried about being sued because someone's only going to be able to sue you for the amount of money they've paid you. Now, bear in mind, I'm not a lawyer and I do not have legal experience, so that may not be true, and that is not legal advice. But I'm telling you, as someone who's never been sued before at this level of business, after having overseen 2,500 high-ticket transactions, just write some basic terms and have some basic, easy to read, easy to understand terms that clearly define the deliverables of what you're going to do, the expectations you have from the client, the price and how much they're paying you to do it, and the guarantee terms, and then some other terms and conditions bullshit that you can find online. Okay? Pretty simple. I'll leave that to you. I'm just telling you what to do. You can figure out how to do it in your own time. Now, number 29 is a role play, and I don't mean it like that, you filthy little animal. Role play in terms of like sales role play, okay? So once you've got your fundamentals down, you've watched some sales calls, once you've actually written a pitch and a line of questioning and you've got the objection handling thing in theory and you've got a contract in place and you've got your onboarding system in place, now it's time to sort of simulate the whole thing where you're gonna hop on a call with a friend or someone and you're gonna take them through the process. So you know A to Z that you actually have a sales system that functions before you start doing it with actual real customers, okay? And that's the next step. So the next step, step number 30, well actually before that, we're kind of entering phase 4 here. And phase 4 is appointments. So now, all of this work we've done up until this point, we're finally ready to start actually booking appointments and trying to close people. So the way that you're going to make money and the way that you're going to process transactions and exchange your services for, money is through an appointment. So an appointment is basically a agreed upon time. It's getting an agreement with someone in your niche to show up, to talk to you about your thing. That is what an appointment is it's an agreement for a time. Okay? And so what we need to learn how to do is book these appointments and get people on the phones, just dropped my pen, how to get people on the phone so we can actually follow the sales script and convert them into a client. And this is a straightforward premise. In practice, it's a little tricky and it gets kind of tough. And it takes a lot of volume and it takes a lot of work and a lot of pain. And this is where the pain comes in. Because learning, like researching problems and building infrastructures and like writing scripts and stuff and doing all this theory crafting is easy. And it's quite fun because you're just sat there, you're not really in any pain. You're just like, I'm gonna ask this question at this point and I've built this little thing and if they come on board, I'll do this. But it's kind of like, that's the easy part. Everything up until now has been pretty straightforward and pretty easy. It's been work, but it hasn't required any sort of rejection, grinding, volume, difficult stress. Appointment booking sucks, okay? I'm sorry, it sucks. You're gonna have to cold call, you're gonna have to cold email, you're gonna have to cold DM, you're gonna have to make content. There's only really 4 ways or 5 ways that you can get clients. By calling people up, by messaging them on social media, by emailing them, by making content so they come to you, and by them hearing about you from a friend. The alternative is ads and media buying, but we're not gonna do that because you will lose money if you try and run ads. Trust me, those are the only 5 options you have. You don't really have the option of the referral thing, so you've only really got 4 options. And the other problem is the content thing is gonna take months to kick into action, so the only way you're really gonna get clients to start with is by doing cold calls, cold emails, or cold DMs. It's boring and it sucks, and you're gonna face a lot of rejection, and a lot of people are gonna tell you to fuck off, and a lot of people are gonna be very rude and very mean to you. And you need to be prepared and able to face that. And you need to be willing and prepared to build a pipeline and show up and do these actions every day for 3 to 6 months consistently. In fact, you need to be willing to do this every single day for like years. Really just like, you can eventually hire people to do this for you. You can get people in, like do the cold calling and do the appointment setting, but probably for the next year, you're gonna have to do this yourself and you're gonna hate it, okay? I'm just telling you, you're not gonna enjoy it. Trust me, it's not fun. Because, you know, you're gonna face rejection, it's monotonous, and ultimately, like, this is the action that really moves the needle and grows the business. This is the most important thing ever. The foundations are important because if you fuck them up, then this thing doesn't matter. But once you've got the foundations in place, there is nothing else, and I mean this, there is not a single thing that you should be working on that is not booking appointments. And even then, as you're doing, listen to this, even then, as you're doing your foundations and as you're building the foundational steps that I told you to build earlier, you should start phase 4 now. Okay, so even like until you've got like, sure, do the research and stuff first and learn how to get results and stuff and make sure that you know what you're doing. But as soon as you've got your foundations in place, this thing needs to begin. And once you've got your foundations, there is nothing else you should be doing but this. Okay, nothing else. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to hear about you work, because what else could you possibly work on? Like, you know, you won't have any clients, you won't have anything, you don't have any employees to manage, you don't have any books to do because you're not making any money, you don't have any marketing to do because you're not running ads. Like the only thing that is important is a booking appointment. So let's talk about how to complete phase 5 and book appointments. So really, it comes down to a few things that I will write on the whiteboard for you here. 30 is once again, it kind of comes back to the fundamentals. So learn the fundamentals of appointment booking. So really, the only fundamental you need is volume, and you need to learn iteration, and you also need to learn science. Hang on, let me explain this. Scientific method. So the way that you're going to book appointments is by sending and making lots of cold approaches to your niche, by trying things and then failing lots of times, and then you try new things, and then by being scientific in your approach. So what you need to learn how to do is be very scientific with your appointment booking. And this is something that takes quite a long time to get the hang of, but you need to learn that, let's say you have a cold calling script, and that's a hypothesis, okay? And the thing is now you're gonna make, let's say you make 1,000 cold calls, and from those 1,000 cold calls, let's say you get no meetings. That means that your script does not work. And so what you need to do is you need to iterate and try a new script and test that script. And all we're doing with appointment booking for the first 6 months to a year is testing variables to find a hypothesis or a set of stimuli that work. Now, in appointment booking, we have things called stimuli. A stimuli or a stimulus is a piece of information or a tangible physical representation of your offer that can be exposed to your market to trigger a response of booking a call. And so, for example, if you are a marketing agency and a coach or consultant and you want to learn how to get more clients, if you read the description of this video, that's a stimuli. It's a funnel, it's a sales page designed to get you to book a call to talk to my team about solving a problem. And if you read that and it resonates with you, then you'll click the link, and that's a stimuli that's leading you into my appointment system, right? And so what you're looking to do in terms of the fundamentals of appointment booking is find stimuli that works. And the way you find stimuli that works is by knowing your market and writing your stimuli around what you think will trigger the market to get a response. In biology, there is a bird called a red robin. You might be familiar with it, one of those little fat robins that's kind of tiny but got like a big red belly. And in biology, there is an idea called a click-whir response, which basically means a conditioned, biologically programmed response in the mind of the robin, in the brain of the robin. And what that means is that if a robin, like one of these birds, sees a pile of red feathers in its territory, because they're territorial birds, if it sees a pile of feathers, the robin will attack and dive bomb the feathers without a moment's notice. This is called a conditioned click-whir response, where if something happens, like if the robin registers this stimulus, it will dive bomb and it will immediately respond. And your niche is the same way. There are certain things you can use, certain words, certain images, certain ideas that you can put in front of them that will trigger an unconscious conditional response to schedule an appointment. That's how it works. It's exactly the same way with you clicking on this YouTube video. You weren't conscious that you clicked on this video. You weren't aware of it. I just knew what you wanted to read and what you wanted to hear. And what I put in front of you, the stimulus I created, resonated with your mind and your unconscious experience and your condition. Not to say it's a condition, but it resonated with you. And because it resonated with you, you clicked on it and you just click word. You didn't even think, you just click, 100K a year, one-man business, click, thumbnail, click, and then you're watching. And that's an example of a stimulus. And some of you will be a good fit for my company and my program, and we'll go on to the next stimulus, which is in the description. And then in the description, after you click on the link in the description, you'll be taken through to a funnel or a sales page. And then there's another stimulus to book a call, and it's just like stimulus response, stimulus response, stimulus response. That's how we book appointments. Okay? You need to learn what your market's going to react to and what they're going to respond to, and put it in front of them. And that's all it is. All you have to do is find what works and put it in front of people. And do it with enough volume. Volume is a huge one. You need to make sure that you're sending, the rule is, do not go to, let's break my phone there, hang on. The rule is that if in a working day, you should not go to sleep until you've reached out to at least 100 to 200 people in your niche. That's the rule, okay? If you're not and this is another thing about the niche thing, by the way, is you want a big niche because you're going to have to do thousands of these outreaches. So if you've only got 400 people in a niche, it won't work. But if you go to bed without doing at least 100 outreaches or 200 outreaches, the day is lost. You failed. That's your whole job. Your whole job for a year is just to try and reach out to 100 new people a day. Cold calls, emails, cold DMs. Doesn't really matter how you do it or what you use. All of them will work. The main thing is just what you say and what you put in front of them. The string of words that you use to trigger that emotional response to book an appointment, that's what matters, okay? So no more on this because we need to keep it moving, but that's really the foundation of appointment booking. It's a response system, it's a stimulus, it's a click-where response, it's a conditional sort of if this then that thing, and if you put enough volume in, you will get a response. And also you need to be scientific. So you need to learn that don't become emotionally attached to the outcome, don't become emotionally attached to the stimulus you use, don't become emotionally attached to the script or anything like that, and just understand that you're testing things. Like a cold calling script or a cold email piece of copy is kind of like you need to think of it like you're a tortoise, or you're not a tortoise, what are they called? You're a turtle, and you're laying eggs, okay? When a turtle lays eggs, they don't become emotionally or sentimentally attached to the eggs because they understand that 99% of the eggs either won't hatch or will be eaten or killed. But 1% will be fine. And so the same thing is true when you're writing scripts. It might not take you 100 scripts or 100 stimuli to get there, but you need to write as many as you can and test as many as you can and find one that works and then go all in on that one. And it's the same thing with a turtle laying eggs. It's most of the baby turtles don't make it, and that's how your scripts are going to be. And you don't want to be that guy that's watching the screen being like, oh, the baby turtle's dying. You need to be you need to be rooting for that one turtle that actually makes it through and gets to the water and survives. And that's basically how appointment booking works, is you need to be divergent and write as much stimuli as you can that you think will work with all sorts of different styles and stuff, and then eventually you'll find one thing that works, and then you're on. And now you can just put volume through it and scale it, and bang, you're done. And the way that we measure appointment booking is through something called ABR. So ABR is a term used to discern your appointment booking rate. And so this is represented as a percentage. So if I made 100 cold calls and booked one call, then I would have an ABR of 1%. And what we're looking to do with our appointment booking systems is really we're just looking to find an ABR of 1%. Because if I have a system that allows me to basically book one call for every 100 people I reach out to, then if I reach out to 100 people every day, 5 days a week, 6 days a week, I'm going to book 5 to 6 calls per week, which means that I'm going to talk to 20 to 24 people per month. And if I can convert those people at a good enough rate, let's say I get 3, 4, 5 clients a month, after 12 months, I'll have signed 30, 40, 50 clients, which is way more than the 100K that I'm trying to make if I'm doing monthly payments or charging a good amount. So all you're looking for with appointment booking is this holy grail number, which is a stimulus that if presented to 100 people in your niche, delivers a 1% appointment booking rate. Because then you can just consistently reach out to 100 people a day. You can conduct one new sales call a day. And if you do that for a year, you're going to make way more than 100 grand. Because let's do the maths on this, right? Let's say that you book a call a day. And let's say that you work, I don't know, you only do 300 days of work in a year because of holidays, and you've also got let's say you take like 3 weeks of holiday, and you also have like the weekends. So you have 300 days of work. You book a meeting a day with a 1% ABR, which means that you conduct 300 meetings a year. Now let's say that you're not very good at sales, and let's say that you only close 10% of these people, right? 10%, and which means you get 30 clients, Okay, not the best, but we'll take it. 30 clients. Now let's say that you charge $3,000. Well, if we do the math here, that's $90,000 that you will have made in that single year just by doing 100 outreaches a day. Or the alternative is, let's say that we're doing $1,000 a month, and let's say people stay for 4 months, which means that each client is worth $4,000, which means we'll make $120,000 a year. It's really not tough to make 100K a year. It really isn't. You just need to find a system that delivers an appointment or two a day, and a system that gets the result for the person when they buy, and you just need to repeat that. Then it becomes boring. All it is just making cold calls or sending cold emails or sending cold DMs. And then, but after a year, you'll have made like 90 grand, 100 grand, 200 grand. Like, these businesses are so simple and so straightforward to run. You just need to be willing to follow all the instructions I've given you, stick to it, and figure it out without quitting and getting emotional and being an idiot. Okay, so the next thing, step 31, is learn a platform. So really, there's only 3 ways that we can get appointments through cold outbound. We've either got email, we've got DM, or we've got calling. Now, different platforms are going to be appropriate and beneficial to different niches. And so, if you're working with a brick and mortar business niche, then the best approach you might have is cold calling, because you can actually find the phone numbers and just call them directly. If you ever have the opportunity in your niche to make cold calls, that's the best one. By far, the best way to book appointments is cold calling, if it's possible for you to find the phone numbers easily. If you're working with people who, like horse trainers, who are really expert in training horses, they might not advertise their phone numbers, so you can't find their phone numbers. Maybe instead you want to, find their emails, or get their emails, or find them on social media and DM them, right? But what you want to learn to do is you want to learn to master one of these. So we're not going to use all 3, because we only need 1 appointment a day. We only need to do 1 call a day in terms of like sales call to make 100K a year. Okay, it's not that complex. So we don't want to do all 3 of these. We just want to pick one. So what you want to do is you want to look at your niche, and the ultimate question that you're asking here is availability. So the speed at which you will be able to reach out to people hinges upon how available these points of contact are. And so what you want to do is look at your niche and ask yourself, what is the easiest way for me to reach out to these people? How are they most available, right? So if it's a brick and mortar business, they should have a phone number, and they'll be most available to call, because you can find the phone number of a business in seconds, and you can call them in seconds. But to find the social media account of the owner or the email of the owner might take minutes, if not hours, right? However, if you're working with people like, for example, let's say your niche is online fitness trainers, and these people, well, first of all, they're online, which means they hang out online, and that they have to advertise through social media platforms, which means that they'll be very easy to find in the DMs. And so your point of mastery would be DMs. Or, if you were working with a different type of client, that, like, let's take a certain type of business that doesn't have a phone number but has an email, like a software company. So a lot of SaaS businesses, they don't, like these small micro SaaS businesses, they won't advertise a phone number, but they will advertise an email. And so whatever platform you pick and focus on is going to be dependent upon where your niche is most available. Cold calling is the best. Cold DM and cold email are both as good as each other. If you can cold call, you should, but if you can't, don't worry about it, it's fine. Learn a platform. So once you've picked one of these platforms, what you want to do is you want to go to YouTube really YouTube's gonna be the best, and you want to watch every single video that you can find on this platform thing, okay? Because there's gonna be lots of technicalities. Like for example, with cold email is you've got to worry about account configuration and deliverability. With DMs, you might have to worry about limits and how to systemize the acquisition of like finding contacts or like systemizing that. Or you might have to worry about how to like also do content at the same time because it's social media. With cold calling, you might have to concern yourself with what software to use or the best time of the day to call or the best practices for getting pickups. Or there's all sorts of little intricacies to each of these things, but you want to watch every YouTube video on the one that you pick. Now, if you want more information on how to do this, you can buy my product, EasyGrow, which covers all three of these in more detail than you'll find anywhere else on the internet, with results and levels of depth so unparalleled and insane that it will blow your mind and it will completely blow you away, which is why I have got thousands of people who say that we are great. That's my pitch. That's why I made this video. No, I'm joking. I don't care. But my point is that when you get a few clients, and you've got this working, you can explore EasyGrow if you want to. You can come back to this video. I don't really care either way. I make too much bloody money for my own good, so that's up to you to decide. But watch as many videos of these as you can. Refrain from buying anyone's shitty course. And when it's time to buy a course, you can come buy mine. That'd be fantastic. I'm a scumbag. Anyway, so learn one of these, okay? Learn a platform. Because really, cold outreach is basically two things. It's platform expertise, and then it's also correct stimuli. So if you want to get outreach nailed, and you really want to get as many appointments as you can, you only need two things. You need to know the platform really well. So if you're deciding to use LinkedIn to do DMs, you need to understand how LinkedIn's algorithm works. What are the intricacies of doing outreach on LinkedIn? You need to become a total expert in this platform. Then you also need to have the correct stimuli. If you become a platform expert, like you know cold email really well, or you know cold calling really well, or you know Facebook DMs really well, but then you also have the correct stimuli, if you add these things together, then you will get as many appointments as your heart desires. If you have the correct stimuli, but you suck at the platform and you don't know the platform, then it won't work. But if you're really good at the platform, but you do not have the correct stimuli, then it won't work. You need to have both. These are the only two things you need. Is you pick one platform, you master it, you get insanely good, you test as many stimuli as you can until you find one that works on that platform, bang, you're away. One or two appointments a day, consistently over and over again, 100K a year, easy clap, bosh. Okay, where are we? Yeah, number 32 is a bit of an interesting one, and I was debating whether or not to put this in, but I'm gonna put it in, is content machine. So you're not going to really do this at step 32, but you're going to want to do this eventually, where you want to start making content for your niche, where as you start signing clients and as you start delivering results, you're going to learn things about this problem and how to solve this problem. And what you want to start doing is you want to start making YouTube videos or like videos on social media, or writing posts and writing emails to your newsletter and stuff about the problem and about the niche. So you've probably done at this point, after obviously having watched this video and gone to execute on it, you've probably done hundreds of hours of research on this problem. You've interviewed people, you know the niche really well. You've been on the social media immersion technique. You know this niche really well. So you can start to understand what's going to make them tick, and you can start to build and create content that will help these people in some sort of way with their business or with their life or with their problem to move forward and progress towards their goal. And this is how you make your life a lot easier. The content game is not going to pay any dividends for like a year, but after a year of doing it consistently, you're going to start to get results. And so what I did when I was reaching out to gyms, one of the ways that I got clients was through Facebook DMs, because I was really good at Facebook DMs and I could find gym owners on Facebook really easily to send messages to. And what I would do is I would make a video every day on my Facebook account, which you could probably find on my old Facebook, of me in my sister's art shed with an iPhone. Funny how times have changed, I'm still recording on an iPhone. But it would be me just basically making content for gym owners about stuff that I'd learned or stuff that I'd researched. And the way that I never ran out of video ideas is, once again, remember, everything that I learned and studied, I filtered through the question of how can I use this to help gyms get more members. And that basically meant I became a content machine. And I made so many videos. Anytime clients would get results, I'd post them on Facebook. And what started to happen, after about 3 to 6 months of doing this, is I would get maybe 2 or 3 people message me a week on Facebook saying, hey mate, been watching your content, I really like it, can we book a call to see if you can help my gym? And the day that that first message came in, I remember it was a guy called Andy who had a gym in, I think it was Brighton in the UK. There's a business called, I won't give you the business name because then people will reach out to him. A guy called Andy and another guy as well, but I can't remember the business partner's name. But he messaged me on Facebook and he was like, hey man, like, you know, this would be kind of cool to learn more about how this works. And he signed up. And then I got another guy called Calamin who had like a boot camp, a fitness boot camp. And he joined because he signed up because of the Facebook post that I've been doing. I charged them both £1,000 a month. And I just started getting clients from this content thing. It's not something that you can just, people do this where they don't want to do outreach. So they just make content and then they just don't have any clients. You need to still do the outreach and get that thing on lock. But start making content, start making videos, get on camera, don't be shy. They're gonna suck. If I showed you my first videos, you'd fall over laughing. But it didn't matter because the videos were actually helping people. I was like a spotty 19-year-old teenager with like, you know, it was embarrassing. Quite frankly, it was awful. But the words I was saying made sense. And my clients could look past the terrible camera quality, the terrible backdrop, the dodgy posture, and the complete lack of security and the massive insecurities I had because I was delivering them results. They don't care and it will work. And it's better for you to make content and get a couple of clients than not make content and get none, okay? So that's 32. Now, 33 is Calendly. So what you want to do is you want to go on the internet and you want to go to a software called calendly.com, C-A-L-E-N-D-L-Y. And you want to set up a free account with them or a paid account with them. I think it's like $5 a month or something. And this becomes your scheduling software. So when someone wants to book a call with you, oh, sorry, I just punched you, how rude of me. When someone wants to book a call with you and they want to schedule a meeting, either through your content or through your outbound process, you don't just send them a calendar invite or just agree a time, you send them a scheduling software. So they can then book in a time that suits them, it saves you the back and forth, and this will do wonders for your show rate, and it will really help you with getting people on the phone, basically to book a call and show up. Pretty simple to set up, Calendly. You can just have like a 60-minute event. Your sales call should be about 45 to 60 minutes long. People will schedule, and then you're done, okay? Pretty simple little piece there. Number 34 is tracking. So what you want to start doing is you need to build spreadsheets and automations and processes to track every single outreach you've done ever. So you need to keep a log of everything. The reason you want to do this is because the only way you're going to know if a stimuli is correct and works or not is one word: data. The only possible way to discern if what you're doing is working is if you have data to track it. And so you want to start tracking every cold email, every cold call, every piece of content, every DM you send. You need to put it in a spreadsheet, and every day you need to track how much activity you've done and how much outcome you've got. And if you don't do this, you're gonna get lost. You're just gonna lose, okay? I cannot stress enough the importance of tracking your data. Like, this is why when you go to the doctor or you go to a hospital to solve a problem, the first thing they do is they do a blood test, or they take your blood pressure, or they measure your heart rate, or they measure your respiratory rate, and they look in your eyes. Like, the first thing that a doctor will do if there's something wrong with you is they will find the data. And any professional who's good at anything, the first thing they will do to diagnose a problem is find the data. And if you have a problem with appointment booking, the first place you can look to find the problem is data, because you can't solve a problem if you can't see it. And the problems reveal themselves in data sets, okay? So imperative, very, very important. You get your tracking right, you nail your tracking, because if you don't, you're lost. It's like, you know, how do you know what stimuli works and what doesn't if you don't track it? So you need to have a spreadsheet that tracks how much outreach you've done, how many positive responses you've got, how many bookings you've had, how many people have showed up from those bookings, how many people have bought from those bookings, how many people have renewed from those bookings. You need to track every single step of conversion throughout your entire process and have conversion rates that track every single metric so you know what's going on all the time so you can diagnose problems easily and quickly. I treat data like I would treat a holy book. It is my Bible, it is my Quran, it is the most important thing in my life, right? If I don't have this, I'm dead in the water and my business fails. And I've learned that this becomes more and more important the more you scale. I've learned it the hard way by not doing it properly. So track your data, keep a log, otherwise you're in for a nasty, nasty surprise, which is utter failure. And then 35, part of phase 5, is volume. Volume of outreach and content. Like I said, once you have completed phases 1 through 4, once you've got your foundations, your mind's in the right place, you've got your expertise, hypothesis nailed, critically thought through and understood, and you've got your sales script in place, there is nothing else for you to do except from outreach and content. There's nothing else. Like, I can't articulate this enough. There is nothing else you should be working on besides outreach and content once you've got the foundations in place. Because what else is there to do? Like, you want to make money, which is an effect. So what's the cause of the effect you want? It's appointments. So how do we get appointments? Well, we do it through outreach or content. And we do it by mastering one platform and finding the correct stimuli and filtering everything we learn through the question of how can I use this to help my niche and making content around the things that we've learned. There is nothing else for you to do. There is no one to manage. There are no books to balance. There is no marketing to do. There is no one to interview. There's no one to hire. There's no one to see. There's nothing to build. There's no systems that you need. There's nothing. Outreach and content. And the word of the day in this regard, and the thing that will determine whether you get to 100K a year or not, is volume. Because you need to understand that 100K a year is an outcome. And it's an output, right, of a system, of the business. And the amount of money you make is directly related to and directly in proportion to the amount of effort you put in. And so if you did, let's say you did 100 outreaches a day, and you made 100K a year. Well, by that math, if you did 200 a day and you put in double the effort, then you'd make 200K a year. And if you made, one piece of content a week and it made you 100K a year, well then if you did 2 a week, maybe you'd make 200K or 250 or something like that. Now, this is never going to be linear because sadly, acquisition systems do not scale linearly. For outbound, they do to a certain point. For content, not so much. But my point is this: the more effort you put in, the more money you will make. It is as simple and as straightforward as that. The more volume, the more, it's like, think of it like this. You have a glass, let's say you have a big glass, empty glass, and you're really thirsty. You can only drink as much water as you pour into the glass. And when there's water in a glass, that glass has volume, which is determined by how much water you've poured into it. And you can only drink as much as you've poured in. And it's the same thing with making money online. It's the same thing with business. You're only ever going to make as much as you work. And this is really where your mettle is going to be tested. Everything that you're going to have done up until this point hinges on your ability to just knuckle down and do the thing that sucks, which is putting yourself out there and embarrassing yourself in front of a camera because you don't know what you're doing and getting rejected by people over and over again in pursuit of financial exchange. Nothing else to do. Volume, 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 volume. I'm going to say it 10 more times. Volume, 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 volume. Okay? I hope you get the message. If you don't listen to this, you will fail. And do not come crying to me, because why would you? I hope you wouldn't. I don't want people to cry on me. Just do volume, okay? It's getting weird now. This video is going on for too long and I'm starting to spiral. Now, at this point, you should now have a fully fledged acquisition system, which means that you should be testing your hypothesis. You should be signing clients, you should be conducting sales calls, and you should be consistently getting new sales calls where it goes like this, where we have appointments coming in, we have calls being conducted, and then we have results being delivered. I'm just going to put here, results. And so what we're looking to do with the business at this point is just basically feed this loop where, we're getting appointments, which means we get sales calls, and that means we get client results, because if you get an appointment and you close them, then you can get them results. Here's where it gets really cool, and this is why if you just stick to this for a year or two, things get really easy. Because what starts to happen is once you start getting results, is you can use those results to get more appointments. And then the more appointments you get, the more calls you conduct, which means the better you get at sales. And the better you get at sales means the more clients that you get results for, which means the more appointments you get, which means the more calls that you get, which means the more results you get, and this thing just goes round and round and round. And this is called a flywheel. And this is why most people quit, because they don't get to meet the flywheel. You just have to do 100 outreaches, 200 outreaches a day for a year. And if you do that for a year, eventually someone will be dumb enough to buy from you, and you might be just less than dumb enough to get them some results. And now you start getting some confidence, which means that you do more volume and people start actually having a reason to book. And then this thing just goes round and it just loops and loops and loops and loops. And this is the only difference between someone that's making millions of dollars and someone that's broke, is the person making millions of dollars has just given it enough time to create this flywheel. And this is why I'm such an advocate of doing as much volume as possible, because the more volume you do in terms of trying to book appointments, because really what happens before appointments is the outreach, right? Is the volume. But the more you put into here, the quicker you can get this loop going. So the faster that you can it's like a train moving. Like the train is really slow, picks up some speed, then bang, it's exponential. It explodes. I don't want the train to explode. You know what I mean? It explodes in terms of speed, it gets really fast. See it, say it, sorted. Anyone who knows what I'm talking about from the UK will know what I'm talking about. Anyway, flywheel. This is what we're looking to create. You're not going to see this for a year, maybe not even 18 months. But if you just have the power and the strength to just keep going, in spite of all the doubt and the suffering and the wanting to quitness, and you just trust the process and you trust me to know what I'm talking about, which I know is tough sometimes, loop, 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 and then you'll suddenly get to 100K a year. And then you'll be financially free, and then you'll have all sorts of fun with your life because you now have money and you don't have a boss anymore. And all you have to do to sustain your income is face a little bit of rejection that you've already done thousands of times, so you just simply don't care. So now there's one more phase to this whole process, which is operations. So operations is a term used in business to define and sort of encapsulate the running of the company. And operations is basically anything you work on in the business that is not acquisition or value delivery or results. And so what's going to happen, think of it like this. As you sign clients and as you make money and as you get clients' results, you're going to start to make a lot of mess. And there's going to be, it's going to get messy, where you're going to start having suddenly, now you've got to start having client support, tickets coming in, now you've got to do invoices, and now you've got to manage your outreach data, and you've got to keep a log of your sales call recordings, and now you've got to buy some softwares, and things are going to start to get really messy. And operations is basically cleaning up the mess, okay? And it's building systems to keep your business clean, where things don't get too out of hand, nothing blows up, and the business just sort of runs smoothly without it getting jammed or blowing up. And so what we need to learn to do in phase 6 here are a few things to just make sure that your business ticks over nicely and makes you 100K a year without you having to go insane or work 100 hours a day and catch your tail just so you can get some operations done. So I'm going to walk you through these. So 36 is a financial tracking system. So you're going to have to learn to manage your money. And what this basically entails is pretty straightforward. I kind of alluded to it earlier. Create a spreadsheet, one for every month of the year, for the year, and at the end of every month, or at the end of every week really you should do this, but at the end of every month, you want to log everything that's come into the company account and everything that's gone out of the company account, and you want to categorize the outgoings. So every month you can calculate your profit margin and you can calculate what you've spent money on and how much money you've made. This, my friends, is called accounting. It's called bookkeeping, okay? Now, what you might want to do, and I would recommend you do this, instead of using a spreadsheet, you can get a software like QuickBooks or Xero. There's lots of accounting softwares you can use. They're pretty intuitive and straightforward to use, and that way you can keep a nice log of your books. Do not, for the love of God, ignore this. You'll be tempted to because it's boring. Because what will happen after your first year of business and actually making some money is you're going to have to pay tax. And you're going to have to go to an accountant and say, hello, I need to do a tax return and I've got no idea what I'm doing and I'm terrified of the government, so please help. And the first thing the accountant is going to say to you is, okay, please send over your cash flow forecasts, please send over your, please send over your line items, please send over your books, please send, you're going to be like, and then what you're going to have to do, which is what I had to do, is spend 3 weeks of your life digging up receipts and bank account things and calling up companies and chasing clients and doing everything you can just to scramble and get your accounts in order just before the tax year ends so you don't get fined. It's not fun. Have a system for it, a nice clean little system that you log and diligently keep a track of every single month so that when it comes to do your tax return, you're good and you don't have to do this scramble of death that I had to go through. And it was a scramble. I didn't sleep for like 2 weeks. Even thinking about it just makes me stressed because it was chaos. I didn't keep a log of anything. I was just like, oh, I'm making money. And then I was like, oh shit, I've got to pay tax and stuff. And like I've got responsibilities now as a business owner. Like, oh God, that's the thing, right? So yeah, pretty straightforward. You can use an accounting system. Now, if you are a UK business, I can recommend an accountant to you. They're called TaxGem. And the owner of TaxGem is called Steph. Steph's been doing my accounting now for years, and she is one of the best accountants I've ever found, and she manages, like $10 million a year in income and all of our expenses and stuff. And Steph and the team at TaxGem are phenomenal. So you might not need an accountant yet, but when you do, I'd recommend you use TaxGem. Pre-warning, they're not cheap. They're not the cheapest accountants, but my God, will they save you money in terms of tax and stuff. I don't get paid to promote them. This is just what happens when you have a really good service is people start talking. So if you want to use an accountant and you want some advice for tax and bookkeeping and such, you can talk to Steph and Beck at TaxGem. And Steph, if you're watching this, I love you so dearly because you saved me so much money. Thank you, darling. Right. Talking of which, I got ahead of myself. Is find accountant. Now, here's the thing. You don't really have to concern yourself with an accountant until you're actually making money. But the very second that you start making a couple of $1,000s a month, the first thing you need to do is find yourself a good accountant. They don't have to be they do have to be good really because they're going to save you more than they cost you. So, find yourself a good accountant. If you're in the UK, I just use TaxGem. My entire team uses them. I've got dozens, if not hundreds of clients that use them. Like they're the best, right? I like them a lot. So you can use them. If you're in the USA, you can find one, but find an accountant as soon as you start making a couple of grand a month because otherwise you're going to be in for a nasty, nasty tax surprise. Now, 38 is a client support system. So what's going to start to happen is as you sign clients, they're going to need support. And so you want to basically create a support email or a WhatsApp business profile or a Slack profile where your clients can communicate with you and get help. What you want to do is it's probably going to be you doing the support, but the last thing you want is for your clients to have access to your personal email and personal phone number. Because then what's going to happen is as you're trying to sleep or relax, you're just going to get clients throwing shit at you and problems and stuff. What is better is to have a WhatsApp business account or an email that you use solely for client support that clients have access to, and then ideally the clients don't have access to you, they have access to the support thing through you, if that makes sense. That way you can actually breathe and you're not going to have nighttime traumas when you've got 15. I had 54 done for you clients. 64 done for you clients. When my done for you marketing agency was at its peak doing 100, 120K a month, we had 64 done for you clients. And what I can tell you is that if 64 people who are paying you $1,500 a month, $2,000 a month, if they're paying you that amount of money, they own you, kind of. And if they have access to your personal shit, you will get 64 headaches a day, just coming at you, chucking things at you, complaining about things. You need to have a system for it. Now, you're not going to have to worry about having 64 clients yet. That's a 7-figure business, done for you business. You're not going to have to worry about that. You just want to make 100K a year. Nice and easy. You're going to have a few clients. You have probably 10 clients, if not less. It's going to be straightforward, it's going to be calm, it's going to be easy, but you still want to get into the habit of having a nice, clean support system and a nice place that we would say in the business world, it is centralized, which means that it is contained. And the chaos of support cannot leak out into your personal life, because if you're not careful, you'll just become a full-time support rep and you're going to be doing nothing but supporting clients. Trust me, I've been there. Learn from my mistakes. Number 39 is a project management system. So as you start building and as you start getting clients, you're going to have to start embarking on projects. Now, the only projects that you should ever embark on are projects associated with, my mic's there, it's fine, it's working, yep. The only projects you're ever going to work on are projects associated with getting clients results, so improving your product, improving your sales process and script, or building new appointment booking systems. Those are the three categories of project. So for example, let's say that you've signed a few clients and you need to make some major changes to your product to improve it. That's now a project. Or let's say that you've done 100 sales calls and you've just done some sales consulting advice, so you need to change the whole sales process around. That's a new project. Or let's say that the end of the year has come and you haven't got your tax stuff in place, so now you've got to scramble for every single invoice you've ever received. That's a project, right? Or it could be appointment booking. Let's say you want to start building a content strategy. That's a project. What you want to do is you want to build a system for project management. Now, you can use tools like Monday.com, you can use tools like Notion, you can use tools like Asana. I myself personally just use Google Sheets and Google Docs. I don't have any project management software. I just use Google Docs and Google Sheets with very simple to-do lists and a Google Calendar, so I know what I'm doing. Beyond that, I don't have any project management systems. It's up to you to decide how you want to manage your projects, but you need to have a nice, easy way for you to keep a log of to-do lists and to keep a log of everything that you're working on in a macro form, like a Trello board or something. These are all softwares I'm throwing at you that I'm aware you probably never heard of before. So let me give you some examples. Trello, Asana, Notion, Monday.com. That's pretty much it as far as project management stuff is concerned. There's more, but you don't need to get complicated with it. And you certainly don't need to pay any money for it either. So don't start paying money for project management systems, because you can just use Google Sheets and Google Docs. Now, the next thing, 40, is a communication system. Now, the thing is because you're building a one-man business and you're only making 100K a year, you're not going to have any employees. It's just going to be you making 6 figures. So what that means is you're not communicating with a team. If you wanted to get to multi-6 figures or 7 figures, then you need to start hiring people and bringing people in to help you manage that. And really, management is just communication, because the relationship between you and the employee is just basically you're telling them what to do, and you need a place to tell them what to do. So you don't need to worry about this for now, but if you're going to deal with clients, this kind of comes into the support thing. You want to centralize communication to WhatsApp Business or email, or if your clients use Slack, which is a communication software, then you can use Slack. Do not use Slack as your support communication channel if your clients don't natively use it. You want to use a platform that clients naturally use so that they actually ask for support. Because I learned this with gym owners. With gym owners, I just used WhatsApp Business because all gym owners had WhatsApp and they were constantly on WhatsApp. And that meant that the support tickets were easy for them to register and I didn't have to stress. But you won't need to do this yet, but I'm just warning you that if you want to start hiring people, you need to build a communication system. And I would just use Slack, where you can have channels. You could use Discord if you want, but that gets really fucking cursed really fucking quickly. So yeah, just a heads up, you will have to build one of those eventually, but for now, you don't need to worry too much about it. Now, 41 is workflows. Workflows. So by the point, you're not going to build workflows unless you've got like reliable systems that work. But what's going to start to happen is you're going to start to make money, and you're going to start to make 100,000 or more a year on your own. And the goal should not be for you to be working forever. So the next sort of step, the next sort of thing that you're going to want to work on is building workflows. And what this looks like is basically, here's you, and here's everything in the business. All of these dots represent tasks or things. And the problem is that all of these things are connected to you. So if a client wants an invoice, it's you that sends it. If a client has a support message, it's you that deals with it. If a client needs to come on board, it's you that has to send them the onboarding video. If a client wants to be closed, it's you that has to do the sales call. If If you want to send a cold email, it's you that has to send it. So what we need to start to learn to do if we want to go beyond 100K a year is build workflows. And what this looks like is taking the tasks that you do and building simple documents like Google Docs that linearly define the tasks. Kind of like what I've done here in this video today, where I've walked you through the 40 odd steps of how to go from 0 to 100K a year. You want to start building what we would call in business standard operating procedures. And this is a term used from the army. It's a military term that the military uses to standardize the processes where things happen. Because what happens in the army and in other organizations like a business is things recur and problems recur and patterns emerge where the same thing happens over and over again. Like, for example, your client wants an invoice, or you need to deal with a certain support ticket of a certain nature, or now it's time for you to make a piece of content and you need to do a podcast upload. Like, the same thing's going to happen over and over again. And so what you want to do is you want to define the same things and define these patterns that continually emerge and build workflows around them. And what this means is you know what to do, and so what you need to do is take your actions that are in your brain and put them onto a digital resource like a Google Doc or a PDF or a notepad online, so that when you hire someone, they can do it for you. So this is how you hire, is you don't just hire someone and just expect them to know what to do. You define the task and you make it so simple to understand in a linear chain that a baby could follow it, or at least a 4-year-old. And then when you hire people, you just give them these documents. And that's how you outsource the business. It's pretty bloody awesome. Eventually you can get people to work for you. And then you can make 100K a year without doing anything. Trust me, it's fantastic. It's like when you actually get the hang of this business thing, life gets pretty damn good. Like, you can make I will make 800K this month. And if I didn't want to work, I wouldn't have to. I just work out of love now, but I've got people that work for me that follow standard operating procedures, and now they build their own standard operating procedures, and nothing relies on me anymore. Well, there's a few things, but only things that I want to rely on me, if that makes sense. So that's step 41, is isolating things that consistently recur and building workflows to deal with them so that you don't have to when you want to hire someone. And then the last thing, well, actually it's not the last thing, but it's one of the last things, is hire a virtual assistant or a VA. So a VA is a virtual assistant, and this is someone that you can pay $4 to $5 an hour from the Philippines or Thailand or something like that to do your small miscellaneous tasks. So you build these workflows, and then you find the things that take a lot of your time but don't give you a lot of leverage, like just small little things like uploading YouTube videos or finding invoices or doing a certain thing for a client delivery that doesn't take any time or skill. You find the low skill, high time consuming, low leverage activities, and you hire a virtual assistant to do them for you. This way, yeah, it's not really a one-man business anymore, and you're sort of managing this one person, but this person can do a lot of things for you, and they can really run all these tasks and give you time to focus on more higher leverage activities, such as making sales calls or getting better at your product and stuff like that. And that's 42. So now you know what to do, so go and do it. Bye.